to stay.
Hello and welcome back to Beyond Boards, a podcast dedicated to the actions and interests of skaters beyond skateboarding. My guest today, Dan Magee, grew up in Bedford, England, where he started skating in 1986. In the mid to late 90s, after completing a BA in English literature, Dan picked up a camera and started filming his friends and making videos. In the following 15 years, Dan proceeded to create some of the most iconic skateboarding videos to ever come out of the UK for Blueprint Skateboards. A Mixed Media in 96, Anthems in 97, Waiting for the World in 2000, First Broadcast in 01, Lost and Found in 05, and Make Friends with the Color Blue in 2010. After the demise of Blueprint in the early 2010s, Dan stepped aside from skateboarding to work as a freelance filmmaker and director on various projects, but skateboarding never completely went away. In the late 2010s, Dan teamed up with fellow filmmaker Kevin Parrott to work on the excellent cover version video which came out in 2019. And in 2023, he directed and edited Conor Charleson's excellent solo part, Slight Inclination. So here's my conversation with Dan Magee. I hope you'll enjoy it. All right, let's get this started. I have this first one, it's an audio one.
Dan Magee, this is your life. Okay, couple of questions. Joe Burlow was a unique character, to say the least. His heart, as far as I could tell, was always in a good place. Maybe I'm just oblivious, naive, or ignorant, or maybe that's a fair assessment. My question about Joe would be, if this was his This Is Your Life, what would you tell him was the best life lesson he taught you? And what would you tell him was the moment you thought, this person is not completely rational? My other question is more about the lifespan of Blueprint, from its early days as an idea that became a mixed media, Waiting for the World, Make Friends with the Color Blue, Lost and Found. What were your initial aspirations for the brand? It felt like a cultural statement about being from the UK and interpreting our built environment based on that. Did you want to have an impact on the American industry from the get-go? Were your aspirations aligned with Burlow's? And looking back, really, what are the big milestones you got to where you thought either, this is amazing, it's exactly as I'd ever hoped and dreamed, or this is falling apart, irreparable, time to let it die? So, all in all, a couple of questions. What were the big lessons you got from Burlow? What did you want Blueprint to be? And when did it feel like it was going right, and when did it feel like it was falling apart? Hope you're doing good, mate.
Dude, Rattray, that dude cannot just ask a straightforward, succinct question. What the... I literally got to get a dissertation from this dude. And also, he's dropped me and you in it because he's asked like the spiciest hot potato questions, like straight out the gate.
That's true. Yeah, very true.
Like, what time is it now, dude? It's 20 to 10, and he's put in the three most controversial questions. So, I guess for people that don't know, so Blueprint was funded, like I never owned any of it. It was owned by a person called Joe Burlow who ran a distribution company. And sadly, he passed away from cancer recently, which is something that's touched my life a little bit. So, but I will handle this in two parts. So the way we ran Blueprint was, I would just work from home and literally drive to this distribution company as little as possible and have as little to do with Joe, old school distribution guy. But he did actually skate back in the day, but he kind of came from a culture of like selling boards out the back of his car, the highest, profitability margin that he could get. So like doing Blueprint, we're always kind of battling that kind of dynamic. But, so I say this in his defense, he would just leave me alone to do whatever I would do. Like if I did an advert, I just lay out an advert. Need to get it signed off? Nope, boom, straight to like the magazine is printed, He probably didn't even see the videos until he saw them on the day of premiere. So he'd be nosing me up like, He didn't really handle it like a company, a creative thing. It was just like, I somehow have this brand and I will sell it and I will make money off it like I do. Like he used to do Etnies and he used to do World Industry at the beginning.
Okay.
brought H Street to the UK, and he kind of had this marketing idea of like, okay, we can bring in like the H Street videos. Remember, like videos used to be like really expensive, like 30 quid, and you'd save between like 3 of your friends and then like share it around. I think he like kind of like came up with the idea of like, okay, I'll get the license and I'll make these at a really cheap place, and they won't have the same covers, and I'll be able to sell them cheaper and they'll be more affordable. So he kind of came from that vibe. Going to Blueprint, it was just like he wouldn't even make stickers.
Oh yeah?
Really hard to make. Yeah, clothing. So I was always kind of battling him, and that's fun, which is why one of the reasons that like Blueprint really never kind of hit its full potential, just because we were always fighting that.
Okay.
But like I say, the way I would handle it, just like keep him happy, go up there like 2 times a year. Hey, I'm driving up, and then I'd sit in like a 9-hour meeting getting him to pay our pros and stuff, which is the really good thing about him, because even until the end of Blueprint, him and his wife made sure that like the pros were kind of paid their living wage, which I think that's the thing about Blueprint in the UK. We weren't like, hey, we'll turn you pro. You can just have this like random pro board, which a lot of companies in the UK did, but you can't get paid. You know, that's pretty much every company until, I mean, I still think that's the case, except for like, you know, Blueprint Palace, like no one really paid any riders.
Yeah.
So that was things like, you know, the old pros that like helped set up the company and like went through like the formative years of it where they didn't have anything, you know, they're getting like 2 boards in a package. They kind of got highest on the pay scale. And then as new pros got introduced, they got a little bit less, you know.
Yeah.
But he would pay these pros every single, you know, week without fail until like the very, very end.
Okay.
And that was the thing. And yeah. But in answer to his questions, I used to go to trade shows because that was the only way you could kind of get information on skating here.
Yeah.
And he'd be there selling his bloody tracker street tracks. And I can remember these tracker brought out these street tracks, and they were like kind of for the tracker for like tech street skaters instead of like, you know, like Hawk skating Del Mar or whatever. Really light, but they just cracked straight away. So I went up to him as a young kid before I even like was involved in the industry. I was like, hey, I've got these street tracks and they're broken. And then Burley just gave me the whole like spiel about like why these street tracks broke and whatever. But at no point in time was it like, yeah, but we can exchange them for you. It's just like some older dude just telling this kid, yeah, they're broken and this is why, and just like gave me this whole like, you know, snake oil salesman all about the spiel about these street tracks. But apart from that, yeah, I always knew he was kind of a madman, and we just did our best to kind of bypass that part of the creative process. And he loved to like kind of, I don't know, I guess claim like loads of stuff that like he was kind of way more involved in Blueprint, but realistically he owned the company, but he was like a distributor. But it was good. We had people working up there that were amazing, like Mark Harmon, the kind of like fifth Beatle in the Blueprint formula. You know, he was really kind of like unofficial team manager. He was like a salesman at Phase 7. He was selling all the other shit that Joe would sell, because he sold like rollerblades and all this bullshit. And but Mark Harmon was the dude that made sure the packages went out all the time. And like, you know, Joe would probably not want to send dudes as many packages or boards as was going out, and Mark Harmon would make sure they were getting like American standard packages, which is what we kind of wanted to do, you know.
Yeah. Okay.
And then second question. What was his second question? Because like he's asked 3 like rambling questions.
So his other question was basically about the lifespan of Blueprint and kind of what were your initial aspirations for the brand. He said it was like it felt like a cultural statement, and he also asked like, did you want to have an impact on the American industry from the get-go? Yeah.
Okay, so I guess at the beginning. So there's a book coming out called Elsewhere that Neil MacDonald's Science versus Life is working on. A lot of this will be covered, and I'll touch upon it, but I've just gone into crazy detail with Neil over the course of our conversations about this stuff. But the gist of it is, there was another salesman called Alvin who worked under Joe and sold, you know, World Industries and all that sort of stuff like that, and rollerblades and everything else. And he kind of sponsored me when I was younger.
Yep.
Don't know why. I think they wanted like a diversity pick, because the diversity pick in sponsored skateboarding then was like super low, and just because like I looked a bit Asian, I guess they wanted like a day one song thing, even though the level of skating was like not there. And then all the flow riders that he had, they weren't really riding for the companies. Like you get people that got Alien, but they weren't on Alien, and I think they were riding for Alien. Or,
right.
You know, they
just
got like
distribution deals.
Yeah, you got all these people like that would be riding for these companies, and they thought they were on, but they weren't. You know what I mean? You know, like I guess like all those like Experience and, you know, all these other weird companies, all these kids at South Bank thought they were actually riding for companies, but they weren't. But they was getting bought from this distributor. But then when So when Flip left the UK in typical Burlo fashion, he was like, I started my own company. You know what I mean? Because like that's how he just was. But so him and Alvin picked all these riders from all the different flow things and put them on this company called Panic.
Right. Yes.
And when that started, like everyone was kind of like excited. Oh, we're making a company. Mm-hmm. But then when they came to start, we're like, it's called Panic, and here's the logo. We were like, oh my god, really? And I think I had suggested Shier to ride for that.
Okay.
And I can remember we were just like, oh, this is really bad. You know what I mean? So basically, Panic, we split. I convinced Alvin to do Blueprint because we didn't want to have this company.
Yeah.
Panic, because it was like, it was
you
not.
Weren't feeling it.
Was not good.
Yeah.
No one was feeling it, except for like maybe a couple of people like Pritchard, who maybe didn't really know any better, or that kind of thing. But like, the thing about Rattray was he got on Panic because he was actually Joe Burlow's pick. Okay. Rattray was not picked by me or Shier. You know what I mean? Like, generally people who ride for Blueprint, the initial bulk, like the OG team, like Rob Selly, Ewan Bowman.
Yep.
I picked those, and then as we swapped people onto them, and Shier became more involved, and Baines was more involved, and Colin was involved, Neil Chester was involved, we would be like, oh, this guy's sick, and it was like a really organic thing. Mm-hmm. But Rattray and Matt Pritchard were the two original riders that Alvin and Joe picked. Burlo saw Rattray skating a mini ramp at a trade show. Okay. And you can imagine that's like amazing because Rattray is the best skater in the village, you know what I mean? Like he's going crazy at all times, like Rattray's talked about his home life and stuff and how skating was like an escape from like his situation with his father. Yes. You can look into that stuff if you post links that John has up about mental health and that sort of thing. Yeah. Look into that. But I feel like Rattray is from a home life maybe. So like Tom Penny, where you're just out and you're just like amazing at skateboarding because that has made you, Mm-hmm. So Joe went to his trade show, saw Rattray just fucking annihilating this thing. He was like, right. He was Maltese, so he had this accent. He was like, I want the rat. I want the rat. And like, he had Rattray on Panic. Okay. So when we wanted to swap to Blueprint, because that was always kind of the little plans, like we'll take the best riders and put them on Blueprint. I had to wait 2 videos. So that's why there's 2 videos which are like Panic Blueprint, where it's split into 2. Okay. Until I can convince Alvin, right, we want Shier, we're going to put them on Blueprint. You can do whatever you want with Panic. And they did, and they tried to do it with other people. Make it into like a transition company or like a skull company or whatever they did, and Blueprint was completely separate. Yeah. I just took Blueprint and did what I wanted to do. Yeah. But we couldn't do that for so long because Joe wouldn't let Rattray go. And it just took so much to be like, we're taking the rat. We are taking the rat, Joe. and then they all went over, and then Alvin left, and that's when Blueprint became like as you might know it, where we had full control. Alvin was with Joe every day and kind of like grew up underneath him. Mm-hmm. So like when I was doing stuff in London, I was like, right, let's separate. We're just going to do our own thing. I have to go to these long meetings and convince Joe to like have a budget and stuff, and that's kind of it. Mm-hmm. And then the lifespan of the company. So this is the other hot potato, right? So we might as well get this out of the way first. So in 2008, obviously there was a financial crash, and Joe would be always like, oh, I'm not selling enough. I'm making pennies on the dollar, blah, blah, blah. And I'd just be like, okay, yeah, whatever, mate. Like, you're quite tight, you know what I mean? Hoarded sausage rolls in his freezer and stuff like that, colour-coded bags. So I was always battling that in the entire time of Blueprint, where he just said he had no money and it was just like, whatever. So I'm not really taking anything seriously as much, not paying much attention to the financial news at that time in my life. But, so 2008 comes around. Okay, it's fine. You know what I mean? Blueprint's just as it is. Yeah. I go to the States to go and film Shier, and I wake up like in I'm staying at Ollie Barton and Federico's. I wake up on an air mattress. And Federico sticks his head around the corner and he's like, Dan. I'm like, yeah, what's up? Morning. He's like, Blueprint. I'm like, yeah, what, mate? He's like, it is gone. I'm like, what? He's like, gone. Yeah, Matthew just told me. Matthew from DVS told me. I was like, what? Wow. So yeah, that's the first I heard of it. Yeah, and then I start making some phone calls. Mm-hmm. So let me preface this, right? This is not like an attack on Lev and Gareth at Palace. It's actually a third owner who was a friend of me and Massey growing up that I got into business with. And then we started a little skate shop with me and Gareth and this guy. And they had the opportunity to acquire the name Slam City. So it kind of like all got transferred to that. Okay. Me, Baines and Gareth and this other dude who we're not going to mention by name. And but he was always like a periphery dude that like skated with us, but then he'd just disappeared and do another like financial job. So he was like a city guy.
Yeah.
Into the business of skateboarding, but not into the culture of skateboarding.
Yeah.
But he was like a friend, but like Massey was my main friend, and I kind of knew him through Massey, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Massey, who did landscape. So I was in business with him and Gareth at Palace, but it wasn't Palace yet. And by the time I'd rung back home and be like, hey, what's up with the company, blah, 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 a lot of the younger riders have been like, yeah, this guy, the third guy, has rung us all, and he's saying he's starting a company with Gareth, and, you know, he's saying we can do that. I was like, dude, I've woken up now, and they haven't rung me. He's just rung all the riders to try and get the riders to do a different company. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, give me 5 minutes to fucking sort this out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was the first I knew of it, and it was like, dude, that's the first time I saw, like, not all skaters are your mate. A skater could still fuck you over, you know what I mean?
Sure,
like, it just rings true. You know, I can remember my dad when I was, like, signing this shit. He's like, have you got anything signed on this business I was going into with this dude? I'm like, no, it's dude, I grew up with him. Like, I've known him since I was so. I can remember that saying to my dad, and then he just, like, ended up fucking me over and becoming a millionaire of skateboarding. But like I said, it's not Gareth and Lev, so I just wanted to make that clear, you know what I mean? Like, I kind of like respect what those dudes have done since, even though it's like very hard for me to enjoy like the legacy of what is UK skateboarding, you know what I mean? Because of this one dude that was part of it at the beginning. But that's when I knew, and that's when it started. So basically we tried to hold it together for like a little bit, but there was so much fucking beef involved in that, and obviously it's like lost my job and stuff, and just I never really worked a proper job. It just like became like a bit of a mental health thing for me and Baines. Like we kind of like, me not so badly, but like I know Mark that was part of the business as well. And also he lost his job as a pro skateboarder and didn't know what to do. He went through really, really, really tough time of it, like mental health wise. Yeah. And that's really when things started to go through. And then, you know, you just try and say things, don't you? Like, to me, now, the lesson that I wish I learned is this. I was kind of worried about all the skaters that, like, so-and-so gets paid and so-and-so, they has a pro board. And I didn't want to kind of, like, fuck them over. So I was just like, whatever got put on the table, I just took. And that ended up being that Canadian deal, which came from Joe, which is, like, obviously the worst deal. But I remember when I found out in America, me and Shier were driving around in this little car. Shier was just like a pro skateboarder and he wasn't working for shoe companies. And we were ringing people up, and he rung like Jim at Deluxe, and he rung Jamie Thomas, and asking. But it was just madness. Why would you would never do that now? You know what I mean? Yeah. But also, it's 2008. Everyone is hurting. You know what I mean? So it's just total naivety on our part. But yeah, looking back, probably should have just like let it die then, and I think I would maybe have been a bit better mental health wise, not just like thinking about all the things that happened and like this one dude just like kind of getting rich off like stuff when he wasn't around, that kind of thing, you know? Yeah. Okay. And then there was a third Rattray question, right?
I think it was just these two, but I mean, there were kind of layers to each question, but the second one was basically about Blueprint and, like I said, like the initial aspirations for the brand and.
Okay. Well, I mean originally it was just me being like, oh, New Yorker's cool, like, you know, Silver Star is cool. Let's just do rip-ups of all the stuff. I really like Cream. I really always like that company Cream, which like lasted like 6 months or whatever, you know. So originally it was kind of like a rip-off of those three companies. Okay. But then it kind of like, I feel like once we did Wait for a World, and we took the Rat, and we had Shier, and we had Baines, you know, like Palmer, Colin, Rattray and Shier. That was like a tight-knit crew of like that really good British up-and-comers, and we it felt like we started building something. And then once Alvin went to do his other job and we kind of had full control, Blueprint organically came together, but it was more like me living in a skate house with Chris Massey and just like, living in a skate house and just how these things happened. It just felt, it all came together. It wasn't a really big master plan. But obviously we were trying to make something of like, you didn't have to like leave the UK to be a pro skateboarder. And that was the main thing. Really, that's the main thing really. Just like you could make a living or skateboarding. Living here.
Without having to go to California and...
trying to get through the winter, you know?
Right. All right, cool. Let's do this next one. This one is from Nick Hamilton.
Oh, word up. Long time, yeah.
He said, so Dan, I wanted to ask you about the early days and your early influences. Coming up in London during a time many called the golden era of skateboarding, London and especially South Bank had its own scene and you were a big part of it all. What were some of your earliest influences, both as a skater and then as a filmer/filmmaker?
So this move to London is like a massive one, but obviously I count myself lucky that we just like, I moved in literally probably the golden age of London street skating.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the generation before me, they've just done that rad thing, and it was a lot of old kind of 70s skate parks heads, you know, that went up to America very early on, you know, kind of like, I guess like Steve Douglas, they left when they were like essentially still teenagers to go and skate in, you know, a ramp in San Jose. I guess my generation and the last little bit of that Tim Layton boys covered in Rad, like Simon Evans, Curtis McCann, that was the kind of like the generation that started influencing me the most. There's a skate park called the Pioneer Club in St Albans, which is just a youth club that had all these shitty ramps when I was a kid.
Okay.
And then slowly this guy called Rodney Clark, who was like a local there, built it into like a whole skate, well not, it is a whole skate park now, but back then it was like tatty ramps, like, you know, you see a Street Course and 8th Street video, but they're like the best skate parks, right? You know, like a pipe that you skate, that kind of vibe. And that's where we go to skate, because I would get the train or drive up there every Wednesday, Friday, whatever. And I can remember the first time I walked through the door and all the London kids were there. Like it was like Curtis, Winston Witter, Tony Lurkhurst, all these dudes. And they were fucking just like, Curtis McCann was killing it. Like absolutely destroying it. There's like two people I've seen where like I can't still to this day fathom how good they ahead of their time was. One's Curtis and one's Tom Penny. And they both had that impact where you walk into the skate park and they're inevitably would be skating a mini ramp, but it's just like next level of skating a mini ramp. You know, all that massive ollies to tail slap or massive ollies to fakie, slap your nose, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like Curtis was still doing grads. I can remember like I walked in and he did this huge mute method like across his channel.
Okay.
And that's the first time I was like, oh, right, it's like, this is the kind of level. Because growing up in a small town and not, you know, you just see video come out every year from America, you don't really know the level. You don't know the level, especially in the UK.
Yeah.
And that's the time when I was like, oh, there is a level in the UK, you know? That's the first time I really realised it. So I would say that's probably the most influential moment to me, is seeing Curtis at that moment in time, realising, well, how come I'm only like 70 miles away from London? How comes I don't know this is a level that I should be skating at? So going forwards, maybe that's part of what went into Blueprint, is like, we will try and showcase the level, whatever it is, even if it's not like, Shier isn't like doing huge like ollies to tail slap or whatever, he's still doing something that's going to psych some kid up in some village. Yeah. You know, absolutely. In Dorset or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's kind of the vibe, yeah.
Okay, cool. And so Nick is, you used to shoot skate photos with him, right? A long time ago. And then he became a snowboard photographer, I believe.
Yeah, he's like one of the first people I met in London, you know, especially when we sat in the company, you know, well, doing Panic. But I mean, another thing I should mention is back in the day, like that generation of people skating South Bank, no one really skated London. There weren't like spot seekers. There was only like Mike Missouri and his crew that did that. And they kind of never really got the flowers for it. They were like Mark Channer and Mike Missouri and everyone he skated with. But also this guy, Shannon King, who did go to ride for Blueprint, was like a very early dude who moved to London, and he didn't really just skate South Bank. He'd go all over the city. And they that kind of idea of like, you don't have to be at a magnet spot like South Bank, or what do you call it in France? Squash. You know, spot where everyone sits down? That's what I heard.
Scotch, okay.
Like Scotch tape, you know, like Scotch tape?
Yeah.
Okay, so I heard that like a spot where everyone goes and just sits down and you never leave in France is called Scotch.
Yeah.
Like Scotch tape.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what it was, that's what the scene was like, right?
Okay.
It was like everyone, South Bank, you might go across the Shell Centre, but you'd just generally be at South Bank.
But you're basically hanging around there, yeah. Not exploring much.
But it was like the people like, you know, Shannon King, Mike Missouri, when you start seeing little bits of stuff that they were filming, because they filmed a little bit on their high-8 cameras, you'd be like, oh, I need to start going about and getting out a bit.
Yeah.
So that was influential. And then I guess that was also Nick, you know, like we started going on little missions and bits and bobs. But that time was quite short. It was a shame it couldn't be longer, but he was also very influential to me because he had a Mac and I'd never seen one before. His dad had a Mac. Okay. And I used it. And then the first time I used it, I was like, you know, Macs were the first computers with a graphical user interface where it was like easy to understand, not just like your BBC 10-print command, whatever. And he had the first one, and I was like, I've got to get one of these. And that's kind of what made my career, you know?
Yeah. It opened the door for you, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. The next one I have is from John Cattle.
Yep.
He said, how did the police chasing and capturing all of us in mixed media come about? I was watching. I hadn't watched mixed media before, and I just watched it a couple days ago. And I was looking at the long sequence at the end with the police, and so it's pretty crazy. Yeah. Could you tell us maybe how what happened basically? Why did the police kind of chase you? And there was helicopters and all that shit. It seemed pretty gnarly. Yeah.
That was like the first tour that I ever went on. You know, that's kind of a bunch of kids that were like flow kids that distributed flow kids in a van with stuff being paid for. And it was just like all the stuff you don't really do on a tour, you know, straight away. You know what I mean? Like I can remember, I put Shier on blast. But I remember Shier and Flynn, we get to the first hotel and Shier and Flynn had invited their girlfriends to come to the hotel. You know what I mean? Like, imagine if it was Shier now and, like, he was on a tour with, like, a bunch of people and they'd invited their girlfriends and boyfriends to come. He'd be like, no, mate, this is a tour. What are you doing? Yeah. So looking back, I'm like, how did that fly? You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? It wasn't even, like, it was just, like, the first stop. The girlfriends were in the thing. So that was, like, number one. Yeah. Yeah, and then, so Matt Pritchard was also on that tour and he went on to do that Dirty Sanchez thing, which was essentially like a Welsh copy of Jackass or whatever. Yeah, you know, where just defecate into their hands and put it in their face and all that sort of stuff, think they're in vomit, all that stuff. I've actually never really watched one just because I've kind of lived it a little bit, so I just like...
Yeah, no need. Yeah.
But I don't think he was in that... I think he was just in, like, entertainment mode. I think he's just a natural entertainer.
Yeah, yeah.
And Pritchard took the blame for it, but I'm sure he couldn't have been alone. But he, like, fucked the room up rockstar style, which is, like, pretty... Yeah, but it was like a travel lodge room, which is, like, you know, a budget hotel here, you know, like... Okay. You know, you sure you have them in France. But he trashed the room, pissed on a pillow and stuffed it down the toilet. But I didn't know any of this because I'm always, have been, and to this day, I'm in the midlife room, you know. I mean, even at the age of 19, I'm in the midlife room. So I didn't know this. So we're driving we're driving in Whitley Bay, this area in the northeast of England. And all these, like, you know, it's in the video, I can't remember exactly, but I think it's like 4 police vans, a helicopter. Yeah. Like a lot, right? And we get pulled over. But there's like 4 police vans and a helicopter. Like you don't, nowadays in the UK, you don't get that for like a murder. You won't get that. Like, you know, it will take a while for it to come, you know. Yeah, like, for sure. The helicopter's coming out only for some, like, you know, act of terrorism, you know what I mean? Yeah. But like, yeah, if you think how much that costs, if you break down the cost, like, for sure, it'll probably be like quite a lot of money to like chase a load of skateboarders and down. Yeah. But yeah, we got arrested, and it was obviously like the first and only time I'd been arrested. I think for everyone it was pretty much the first and only time.
What did they do? I think at the end of the video, they arrest you. They all handcuff you as you get out of the car.
Yeah, we went to the cells for a night just for pissing on the pillow, as Mike DeHoos, who's not with us anymore, says. Yeah. Released the next day, but it was kind of like, weirdly enough, it was fun. You know?
Makes good memories, for sure. Yeah.
And you know, that artist, Para, who's quite big. That's Peter. So he was in the cell with me.
Oh, really?
You know what I mean, I think me and John Cattle, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's one of the people that's arrested. But every time I see him, which is not that often, but when I see him, he's like, we always mention
Bring that up, yeah.
Yeah, that's my trendy kind of like claim to fame, you know? Yeah. I think then we went to a demo we did a demo where like 3 people turned up and Pritchard got kicked off the tour just as a point of like, you fucked up, you know? Yeah. Not by me, but yeah.
Yeah, the footage is pretty insane. Like you can see you're in the car and you're seeing the police cars in the back, and then they get to you, and then you see other police cars coming in, then the helicopter, and you see it all unfolding. It's pretty crazy, yeah.
Like, I'm sure even then that area was probably like partly deprived. I'm sure there's a lot more stuff going on, even back in the 90s, where those police resources could have been better used.
Oh, for sure. Like, yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah. It's so disproportionate.
Cost to the taxpayer, it's like ridiculous. But like I say, like now you probably wouldn't even you just get a phone call following up 2 weeks later from the police. Like,
yeah.
Okay, tell us about this pillow, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right, let's do this next one.
Hey, Dan, it's Gustav. Really excited to hear the podcast. Hopefully, see you soon. It's been a little while. I'm interested in hearing you talk about standards because it feels like when you started doing skate videos, there were a lot of different standards going around, from sort of video magazines to more sort of serious US productions and then local homie videos. And it feels like one of the hardest things in working with, you know, your friends and skateboarding in general is to deciding what to cut out, you know, what to if someone's worked hard for a trick, but you don't feel like for some reason or other, it doesn't fit or the filming's wrong or whatever. And it felt like you brought in a sort of higher set of standards than a lot of other people had at the time. So where did that come from? How did you what was your eye on skate videos and your own filming, and what standards did you set for yourself and what standards did you set for others? I think you probably understand what I'm trying to say, but if you want to talk about that, I'd love to hear it. All right, mate. Take care. See you soon. Bye now.
The genius. Good guy, that guy.
Yeah.
He's too good for this world. Standards. So he means video standards, not like me. Does he mean or trick standards?
I think video, for how you made your videos.
Okay. So at the time, everyone was filming still like buddy cam, high 8, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And looking back on it, those videos are amazing because you're looking at them in hindsight. You know, like I can watch the Unabomber video, you know, the Unipromo, and it's like amazing. I did like it at the time, but I can enjoy it now more because you're looking at something in a nostalgic view. Yeah, which is maybe what why people watch a Palace video and it's all like VHS, or like I'm filming that. I just film in high 8 now. That's what my next project is, just going to be high 8. You know, it's going to be something different. But like that's more from a because like when you're filming in those formats now, they can make okay skateboarding look really good. That's how I feel. But back then, it doesn't make okay skateboarding look good. It makes it look worse. Yeah. So that's the way I feel now. Like now, if you film like with a high 8 or VHS, it can make the mundane look really good. But back then, if you film with VHS or high 8, it can make good skateboarding look shit. Back then. Yeah. And also the way I always kind of saw it, and how can I put this in terms? I'll compare this to politics. It's going to be a little bit weird. But like even with the stuff that's happening now in the States with the whole Trump getting shot, I feel like everyone, be that skateboarders, the proletariat, whoever, just need the easiest point from A to B. They just need to see. They're not going to read a manifesto. They just need an entertainer like the fucking dude stand up there saying so-and-so, so-and-so, and it's a funny soundbite, and they're like, yeah, I'm going to vote for that guy. Or they have that photograph of him with the secret security. It's one image with the American flag flying over their head. It's just one image, and that will just shift the course of how they think, the course of history, right? Yeah. With skate videos, I feel like it's the same thing. If you see a glossy American filmed in the best way, at the best spots, at the best time, that's what you're seeing, and that's what all you aspire to. If everyone in the UK is making hard to watch videos or something that you just need to put in a little bit more effort or a little bit more understanding to enjoy, they'll just get overlooked and people will go straight back to that one glossy sunny image. So that's why it was like important that like the videos, as best I could do, is to learn how Americans made their videos and make them look glossy. So like everyone will be like Americans will be like, oh, this is like our videos, or British people will be like, oh, this is like American videos, but it's like spots that I skate, and it's a guy from fucking workshop skating like I skate. You know? So that was basically like the way of thinking that I always kind of thought. It's like, well, if Americans can do it, why are we not trying to do it? But back in the day, I think there was an element also of like, not everyone could get that equipment. Not everyone could have that access to that information. So I feel like, people just kind of work with what got, and we're like, oh no, we're trying to do it like we've always done it, or we're trying to be like, not that anti-hero existed at the time, but they're trying to be like, it's rough, it's rugged, this is just how it is, it's DIY, but it was too early for that sort of thing. But I also remember as well Neil Chester, who filmed and kind of like was kind of organic team manager along with me, Shier, whoever else was involved. He wasn't working for Blueprint, but he was a good friend, and I really wanted him to film for Blueprint because he was like really, really good at filming. You know what I mean? Like he shot a lot of Lost and Found, and like it wouldn't be what it is without him. But he was filming this project for like Soltech Distribution, which had a bunch of Brit skates in it, and he was still filming on high 8 back then. And I was like, mate, if they want you to make this video, why don't you just get them to pay for this camera and then it'll make your video look good, and then you can film for Blueprint. And Ches being like he is like, no, I'm sure this digital stuff's gonna blow over at some stage, So I can always remember that being funny, but I also can remember Chris Massey, one of my best friends and from Landscape. He was also when I had the VX, he was also like, you know, pretty soon it's just going to be a card on the camera that you don't like have a tape. And I was like, fuck off, Massey. We're a long way from that. You know, so there, you know, there you go. You know, it's like a lot of stuff could change, but like, it wasn't like I was trying to be high tech. I just watched like Ty Evans's golden era stuff and The Reason and all that stuff like that. And I was like, well, it's kind of got to be as good as this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when Waiting for the World came out, I can remember Cairo and some other people, maybe Kenny Reed came over and stuff, and they were like, that's like one of the first videos I watched from Europe, and I was like, wow. You know what I mean? Like I took notice and I was like, oh yeah, that's the idea, you know?
Okay, let's see. I have a question from Jacob Harris.
Oh yeah? Who's he? Who's that guy? Yeah.
Who's that guy? He said, how did you manage to assemble skate video soundtracks pre-streaming? I thought that was an interesting one.
Okay, so I showed this project that I'm working on at the moment to Kev Parrott on an iPhone, and he was like, is this more in the saga of like skateboard songs that you got from your days of working in a record shop? So essentially I worked in this record shop in another golden period from like in early 90s.
Okay.
So I had stuff on like in the back of my mind that I'd want to use, you know what I mean? Like from those days. Like that Seahorses song was like a single that maybe it might have even been a B-side to a single that we used for Rattray's part, but that's like from my record shop day stash. It was like a record shop that like a few skaters worked in, and they got me a job, and I worked there for like a few years, and it was like pretty sick. It's like my one and only like full-time job that I've ever had.
Okay.
So there was that in the beginning days where you'd hear random shit. My girlfriend, now wife, had some good jams that we did. Just random shit. I'm trying to think what came up. First broadcast a little bit different. Adam Mondon had a heavy part where I was like, right, it's got to be all British. Give me just British songs. And he was a bit of a muso. Like, I like music, but I'm not like super geeky, you know what I mean? Like, I love listening to music podcasts, and I love the stories which behind songs and how bands interlink, but I'm not like, what so-and-so song or what I'm that guy. I don't know, mate, but I know like various like, you know, little gems or rare cuts and bits like that.
Yeah.
So it's always been a bit of a mix of that, bit of girlfriend, record shop days, film soundtracks, and serendipity. Like, for instance, remember like the Sugar Man track that Brady skates to, right?
Oh yeah.
It's Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Okay, so like when Brady had that song, Rodriguez was like completely unknown. Basically, he was only big in South Africa because he had a really weird following back in South Africa. And then like a decade or later after Lost and Found came out, there's a whole documentary called Search of Sugar Man, where it's like there's this artist and he's basically should have been Bob Dylan, but he never blew up and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And that's like came out way later. But like, yeah, I had that album, Cold Fact. Only reason I had it is because I listened to the radio once and there was a cover version of Sugar Man playing on it. I was like, what the fuck is this song? It's like shit. It's a pop song, but it's actually pretty sick. The lyrics are sick. And I don't know how, because I don't know. I think it might have been like, there was the internet, but it was like, it was like Ask Jeeves or Webcrawl or something. And I found it by doing something like that. You know, a very early thing. Or maybe even like, there was like maybe even something like where you hum it into a phone and then like 80 people working in a call center like try to find the song. It might be even something like that.
Okay.
But it was like I think it was an All Saints song. B-side of an All Saints All Saints single, and then randomly some commercial radio station was like, you won't hear this again. It's just like the B-side of this fucking All Saints pop song. And I was like, okay, because the lyrics say Sugar Man, you know, in the lyrics, it's probably a little bit easier to find. Sometimes you just get like really kind of opaque songs that like don't have the song title in the lyrics. It's like, how am I going to find this, you know? But so it's a little bit of that, you know.
Okay,
and it's also a little bit of like the person skating what fits them. Like I very rarely use a song that a skater will ask for. Only person I think I've ever done it for.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you that actually, like if some of the Blueprint guys requested songs and if you tried to, you know, accommodate them, or if you really kind of imposed your vision, so to speak, and your song choices. I think this is one of the reasons why I got a rep as a skate tyrant. So you very rarely see your video part as it is until like the premiere. You might see like
stuff of it cut together on a timeline, or you might see it against someone else's. You know what I mean? Like that film trick where you have a timeline of footage, and then you show someone's footage, but then like say I was showing Ben Grover's footage, right? Have a timeline. Oh, here's your stuff, Ben. Do you want to check it out? Yeah, man. Yeah, I'll check out my footage. Have his footage, but then you'd have like the next trick will be a Smithy trick where he's just like fucking like doing some gnarly tricks. So Ben Grove would see his footage and see Smithy's and be like, oh, okay.
Yeah, you know what I mean? This is how I compare to my peers, kind of.
Yeah, but like it's just like a Jedi mind trick. It's a bit harsh. But like sometimes it works. I don't think it would work on Grove, but like sometimes that would work in a positive way, or people be like, "Oh, he did that sick," you know what I mean? Like blah blah blah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then other times it would backfire where somebody would see the trick and then they go and do it with another filmer for another video.
Oops.
Lintel, not mentioning any names. But yeah, mate, you don't pick your song. Don't see your video part.
Okay.
Is that the rules? I think that might be the... Okay, yeah, you don't... I mean, it used to be like, don't wear shorts.
No, yeah.
That's kind of gone out the window now. Now you can wear jorts, so like, all the rules are going out the window.
Yeah. Lucas Puig brought the shorts out heavily in the last few years.
Yeah, but there's always an exception. You know? I can remember Stefan Laurent used to get slayed.
Oh, yeah.
Like, dude.
Yeah,
if
back
he'd
in the day,
worn something... I feel like he would have had a different career if he'd never worn like shorts. But like those are my two rules. But like Colin was always into like making his electronic music, which as a younger man I didn't really understand. But now I'm like, I actually really like classic electronic music. So now I understand it. So for that reason, I'll be like, no, mate, you're not picking the song. You're gonna give me some like phone operator dial tone shit. You know what I mean? Like, so, but he's not gonna be told. You know what I mean? And he's also a person that I respect so much. I can't just tell him to piss off like everyone else. So I'd be like, give me 20 CDs, dude. Just give me 20 picks. But you give me 19 duff. Not duff, but like just ones that don't fit skating. It's like, what are you thinking of, mate? You know what I mean? And there might be like one that kind of like fits, and that's like his pick. And that would be like his lost and found pick.
Yeah,
okay.
You know what I mean?
Like, so he's the only person that essentially chose his song and lost and found.
Okay.
And then an example I always cite, to sound like a broken record, would be Smithy, where he's saying he wants to skate to Jamiroquai. So Smithy doesn't get Jamiroquai, he gets Skinny Man. So, you know, I would say, okay, my point in case, dude.
All right, let's do this next one. That's another audio one.
Okay, are we done with all these softball questions yet, guys? Like, really? Dan, I hope you're sitting down, because this is about to get real. So, question number one. How do you feel about the disappearance of the opening title sequence? I don't think we've seen skate videos use them for 7-8 years now, and I would consider you one of the best at grabbing an audience right at the beginning of a video and pulling them into your world through an extremely well-crafted opening sequence. Now that most to almost all videos have abandoned that part of the art form, I'm curious where you think that's going to take skate videos in the future. Okay, they're telling me I need to wrap this up, so I got one more question for you, Dan. What inspired the look and feel of the first broadcast video? I always felt like it was an outlier from your other work, and it's very stylized in a specific, like, darker feel where the most of the footage is all color graded, kind of has a magenta tone to everything. And I thought it was really inspiring when I first saw it. And I was just wondered, was there like a movie at the time that inspired that look? Or was it just an attempt to try to do something different since it wasn't just a Blueprint video and kind of separate it from the look and feel of the rest of the Blueprint projects? That's it. Thanks, guys. And sorry for my long questions.
Dude, I thought it was Josh Stewart at first.
It is. It's Josh.
Is that Josh?
Yeah.
Okay, dude, softball questions. That's rich. I would love to ask Josh some questions, and he really tells me what he thinks, because like I feel like he's always holding back. He's like the opposite of me, where he's a bit more. He knows not to like say what he thinks. So remind me what the opening.
The opening title sequence. Its disappearance. Yeah, your thoughts on that, basically.
What skit is it? Is it the Dill part where it's like talking about the last part and it's like, it's the curtains? Is it Dill? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I'm not sure.
Like, last part. Oh, yeah. So it's Dill Photosynthesis where Chris Carter's like, you know what the last part means? It's the curtains. The opening sequence are the curtains too. It's like, you know, imagine you're at a play and you're watching it at a theatre and the curtains go back. That's the first set of curtains. You know, that's the whole point. It's the opening sequence are the curtains. It's the reveal.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I don't know. It's the one thing. It's the one fun thing that's like fun to make. And I feel like the inspiration for that is really Spike Jonze. You know what I mean? Like, he's the dude that like, well, you know what I mean? Like Mouse. You watch Mouse and you're just like, you know, I can take or leave some of the later ones, but like Mouse is the one where you're like, you know, you're in for like a show. You know what I mean? You know, you're in for like the whole show. If they've done that for the beginning, and then the disappearance of it, yeah, it sucks. I mean, I do enjoy a lot of stuff. I don't really follow everything, but the things that I enjoy might be like, oh, there's an EGX edit out, or, you know, Johnny Wilson, Karim Calendar, like, he's sick, but like, essentially all those edits are really just, they feel more to me like a timeline you'd have, or everyone's footage, and you'd be like, hey, right, so this is what we got, and I phone a song over the top of it. That's what it feels like, and I know that's what people like these days, but like, videos don't really feel like fully formed videos because there's not the, people don't have the attention span right now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a bummer though. Yeah, I just moved into a new apartment and I have a TV now, which I haven't owned a TV in like 15 years maybe. And I watched yesterday some of the Blueprint videos on the TV, and I hadn't done that in, I don't know, just a very long time. Like that, watching an actual skate video on a good TV, you know. And I really loved it. I hadn't watched Make Friends with the Color Blue for a long time, and I watched the whole thing without pausing, you know. And
oh, really?
Yeah, and I loved it. I was really entertained, but I had seen it a bunch of times, of course, but I hadn't seen it in a few years. But I really enjoyed just watching the full. I was surprised by how, you know, just enjoyable it felt still to watch a full lit video, like an hour long skate video like this on a proper TV, because I wouldn't want to do that on my computer, or obviously not on my phone either. So but
so I mean, the one thing going on from what he said. So all the videos I have made from Waiting for the World have had more thought put into them, and then once Lost and Found was done, I kind of knew in my mind that I didn't want any video to be the same. So if you watch all those videos, they're all completely different.
Yeah.
Like tonally or stylistically. Kind of crossing into the second question, first broadcast is actually, so, you know, I've always collaborated with people. It's not like Jake who just goes and films the whole thing, which is a kind of mind-bending thing to achieve. Mm-hmm. I've always made sure I collaborate with people. Neil Chester, Kev Parrott later on, Adam Mondon for first broadcast.
Right.
And then Make Friends is really the one that is a real hodgepodge, because it was, like I said, that video was made and the company went bust in the middle. It was just like, everyone was kind of like doing different things, like people obviously burnt out for whatever, but like, so like all these different filmers filmed different parts to that video. My job in that video is to be project manager and just make it feel cohesive, even though it's filmed by a lot of people, you know. It's probably got the most additional filmers in that video, and then I would only concentrate on one or two people parts. So I just, for that video, I've kind of filmed Shier, Baines, kind of the old heads that I grew up skating with, like, you know, like people that are kind of very close friends. And then Kevin Coakley, I like focused heavily on him. A couple other filmers like Zana Takatomo, Cien, and Alex Pelletier. But though it's weirdly enough, like Kevin and all those filmers I just mentioned have stayed like lifelong friends to this day. And like, you know, I saw Zanda the other day, who shoots for Adidas now, and I'm like, dude, how long have I known you? And I'm like, we're like, yeah, it's like 18 years or something now. You know what I mean? So that's kind of the power of a full length video. That's a power that a project could have. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Because all these people we crossed paths so randomly. Like, they were just friends of a dude that we sponsored, and then that dude we sponsored has become a lifelong friend. Like, I speak to almost every day, and those other three filmers are people that I speak to like every day, or like I make an effort to stay in touch with. Yeah. And then first broadcast, the look of it, it's like meant to be an industry video, or kind of in a lame way, like the people, it's not so endearing fashion, the industry in the UK that I deemed was legitimate companies, you know, or that I liked, you know what I mean? So the look of it can't be like a Blueprint video. Also, you know, it's my first collaboration. Well, I went to Mondon, like, let's do a video. You're one of the only people that's with this camera that can film to a decent standard. Let's do something different. Yeah. But the look of it, I feel, is very like British trip hop, is how I describe it. Like Portishead, Tricky. It's kind of like in that zone. Like, you'd have maybe turn on a video in that era, and it might be a Chris Cunningham video or a Massive Attack video or something like that. And tonally, the imagery of those music videos would be quite dark and very, not bright poppy kind of like, I don't know, like Soundgarden, Black Hole Sun or something like that. It would be more like, exactly like a Massive Attack video or something,
Okay.
Like, that kind of vibe,
Yeah.
What's the Massive Attack one? Teardrop with the baby, with the fetus. It's got like a fetal child. That's all it is. It's just like a fetus, and it's like a dark kind of foreboding video. A lot of videos are like that all the time, and that's kind of where First Broadcast sits in that.
Okay.
In that
with that
body
inspiration.
Of work,
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the color grading, I wouldn't call it color grading because it's all totally illegal, off the charts colors, but somehow it worked.
Okay.
I was just making it up as I go along,
Yeah.
And also, I think a lot how the color grading came about was I knew that I wanted to make a vert part with a UK vert skater, but it was like, to me, there's only a few vert skaters that street skaters can watch. Like, you could probably watch Planet Earth video, and you're not going to fast forward Buster Hartman's section. You're going to watch a Powell video, and you kind of might like get halfway through Bandits, and there's that slow motion bit of like cab skating all like super slow, and you're going to fast forward it. But if you watch Powell 8, I think the video's called, the Mike Frazier part is like amazing. You know what I mean?
Mike
you're not
Frazier,
fast forward in that. Yeah, or you're going to watch Rubbish Heap, and you're going to watch Tom Boyle's part at the end. It's like something that a street skater would be like, I want to see that part. And Ali Cairns felt like that kind of skater in the UK. So I knew I wanted to make a part with him, and he also skated Northampton, which was only 20 minutes away from my mum. So I was at university at the time, and I could go back. So I decided to do that, but at the end of the day, it's a vert ramp inside a warehouse. How do you make that? It's like you see the Tony Hawk stuff, or him skating a ramp. It's a massive ramp in a warehouse. How it doesn't look like Fallbrook, or it doesn't look like Raging Waters. You know what I mean? So the color grading was a way to make that section look more interesting, and then I started carrying it over into the street stuff as well.
Yeah, I like that Ali Cairns section. Yeah, it was really well put together.
Yeah. So I'm glad that like the Madman and me decided that was something I was going to do, is make a vert part in a street video in 2001. I don't know what came over me.
Yeah. No, but it's cool. Yeah, it's still enjoyable to watch even today. So yeah, it was a good call.
Yeah.
All right, let's do this next one.
Hello Dan, it's Kevin Parrott. I've got 2 questions for you. The first of which is a pretty simple one, which we've tried before, but you've dodged. I know you are not the biggest fan of the fact that you were a sponsored skateboarder, but from that era, which photo is your favourite of yourself and why? My second question for you is, I guess, around making bad calls. I know you're known for your strong opinions, of which many are valid. However, is there an opinion that you've had that really sticks in your mind where perhaps your crystal ball has failed? So perhaps someone who didn't quite fit into the future you saw for them and prospered. Thanks, man. Looking forward to hearing all this. Bye.
Okay, right. First, I'm going to skim over the first one. There's literally no photograph of me, because the only photos I would like to, I tell you what's a lie, but they're not really published photographs. The ones I shot with Nick, where we just walk around, Nick Hamilton, where we walk around town. I think he just shot a photograph of me, flailing a back tail, but I've got like a fit that I'm wearing that I'd wear that now. You know what I mean? That's probably the main one. And then talking about biggest regrets?
Making bad calls. Basically, he said, is there an opinion that you've had that really sticks in your mind where perhaps your crystal ball has failed?
Yeah, making a full-length video with Kevin Parrott. I wish I fucking no, joking. Well, I kind of he'd agree with maybe that was both a folly that we both decided to do in our middle age, but no, it was like a wicked experience, and I think that I would have.
That video is incredible. Sorry to cut you off, but I watched it again yesterday and loved it. It's so good.
It just seems like a lot of effort for a very ephemeral time. You know what I mean? It's like maybe it was worth me and Kev putting our efforts into something.
Oh, for sure.
More than just a thing. But fuck it, we did it, and I'm like, I can say that I filmed a full length video in my mid-40s. So I say to Kev, I'm a little bit older. I'm like, dude, and he was like, the other day he was like, saying he was aching or something, or it's not about going film. I'm like, mate, you were the age when I was filming the enders of that video. So like, you're complaining now, but I was actually on the streets at that time.
Yeah.
But in really, I think what he's getting at is people that I put on Blueprint that I regret, because I do go on about this every now and again to some people. So the one thing I've realised in my hindsight is these videos and on a brand like Blueprint will only work for people that understand what you're doing and are motivated to do it. And I feel like we had that for so many riders, so many people. Nick Jensen, all the original crew, you know, like I mentioned earlier, like, you know, Paul Shier.
Yep.
And they just get it. They just got it at a time. Like something like Lost and Found, it was like the main core of people. Like, so I'll take Lost and Found example. The main core of the skaters in that just got it. And you could kind of see that all the people that got it have gone on to take the stuff they've learned, or like just that experience and having fun and filming a part and putting the work in. Colin Kennedy, like global sports marketing, Nike, you know.
Yeah.
Mark Baines, New Balance team manager. Paul Shier, global team manager, Adidas. Yep. Jerome Campbell worked at Converse. Neil Chester was Adidas. Converse. I mean, it's shoe brands, but they're the ones that command the budget to have like amazing teams and do these massive team trips and just basically like do stuff where you had to be working and work with amazing skateboarders. I'm trying to think. I don't really want to miss anyone out. I'm sure there's a lot more people that like came out of that video. Nick Jensen, company owner. Danny Brady, Palace team manager.
Yeah.
Even people, you know, going away from that are close-knit friends like Sebastian Palmer, who ran Sumo.
Oh yeah.
Who was like so far ahead of his game in terms of skate marketing and running a skate shop that was like had the best identity, is the industry dartman that runs New Balance numerics. Like, you know, literally all these people, like even going to make friends with the colour blue, like Lee Berman, who was integral, you know, in put me up and making sure that I could film Kevin Coakley's part. Converse global team manager, like everyone that was part of these videos that got it. But there's a couple of people when you watch that video that I've like, the parts in Lost and Found are good, but they just didn't get it. They just like, they were kind of more filming for themselves rather filming for the project. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that, the best parts in that video are people that weren't filming for their parts; they were filming for the video. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
And then skipping forward to what Kev is probably getting at is when we after in a downtown of Blueprint where like you kind of knew it was going, and you know, and I just had to say the name because I don't really give a fuck. But like when when I wanted to put Ben Norberg on because he was an ATV. Like, you know, he could skate everything. I thought he could at the time, but it turned out like he could just do stalls. And Bain said, "Don't put this dude on." And I was like, "No, we need someone. We need someone." Like we put people on in the past. Well, I put them on because could skate a demo and like over a massive fence and do loads of stuff, and we just didn't have that, and we needed that.
Yeah,
it was fine, but they really weren't like. They weren't like 99% Blueprint. They were only like 70% Blueprint, and it was cool. But like, and they're cool. But like, it's just they were on for a reason. Where everyone else is kind of more organic. But Norberg is probably the one where like I'm like, why did I not listen to you, Baines? It was obvious that he was a kook. Why did I not listen to you know? And that comes from everyone that wrote for Blueprint didn't really have anything when they first started. They were kind of found. You know, like all these people that like quite big names like Chewy, Brady. Nick Jensen, even though he lived in London, so he's obviously going to get seen. But like, I'm going to say, you know, people like Chew and Brady, not because they ride for Palace, but because they were from smaller towns like Blackpool or a little area of Blackpool, or Chew was like right in the middle of nowhere. But, you know, myself and the people that we skate, we recognised something in him that was worth doing something with.
Yeah.
And they didn't have anything else really. They had like a cool shop sponsor, a little shop sponsor, but like nothing big time. And they kind of saw that they had to, you know, work towards something. And I think that means a lot in a company like Blueprint and a video like Lost and Found. That's where you're kind of seeing it. You know, once you kind of like, if you've had everything given to you on a plate from the get-go and everyone's blowing smoke up your ass, you just don't want to do anything. You're just in it for yourself. You're not in it for the good of like building a better British skateboarding or a better company or bringing up the guy that's on the team next to you. I mean, that's what it is. It's about Blueprint was always about bringing people up, you know, which is why you kind of go for the underdog, which is kind of where me and Kev, not bring them up, but like we kind of went people that like were not really getting the full shine yet, you know.
Yeah, sure.
And it
exactly,
kind of worked in some bits and it didn't work in other bits, but it was just glad to make and it was cool to hang out in that period of time. But I guess that's always been the MO in the videos that I work on with people and videos that people like Kev asked a question, so a lot of videos that Kev makes are about bringing up like people to spots they wouldn't normally see. You know, that's his thing. Is like, I'm not a guy I love spots and like looking for spots, but like it's people like Kev and Greg Conroy who I also know are like really into the spot aspect, and like, you know what I mean, I kind of like lean on to people like that to kind of make things happen, and then add in my project manager kind of translation to it, you know.
Okay, let's do this. This is a fun one from Nick Sharratt from the Palomino.
Oh yeah.
He said, gun to the head, you have to pick one. Put out a part with music you like, but you hate all the outfits the skater is wearing. Or put out a part where you love the fits, but you have to use music you hate.
Okay, so in 2024, is this the time I'm putting it out?
Yeah.
22. Okay, music I like, outfits I hate, because like the outfit thing has gone out the window, mate. It's gone. Like the whole outfit thing, like anything goes. I've seen like insane shit recently, and it's still kind of a good video. What's that New York one where it's just like all emo kids wearing like TK Maxx style 90s fits? I think the guy made some stuff for Asics recently, but like Chase Walker or something, I think.
Okay, yeah.
But like, yeah, they've made it work. You know, it's a weird thing, you know. I think it's just so far gone, but the one thing that will make someone turn off a part quickly is music, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like if you had a really offensive music, it's just not, you're not going to see anything, so
yeah,
you might as well.
It's going to ruin the experience, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, this next one is from your wife, Hattie. Is that her first name? Hattie?
Oh, yeah. Oh, this guy.
So she said, ordinarily, I would be the skate widow left at home while he was out filming. But maybe it would be interesting to ask Dan if he has any memorable stories from one of the few occasions I joined him.
I mean, to be honest, I'll just put this out there now. I met my wife at South Bank.
Okay, really? Okay, nice.
Yeah, in her defence, she was not there to be at South Bank. She was there with someone else who wanted to go to South Bank.
Okay.
Who was...
What year did you met? Do you remember what year that was?
Like we've been together for like 30 years. We were like so
young.
Oh
wow!
So, but it's very early. But she was down there.
Okay.
You remember? Do you know a band called Ash? It was like a.
I don't think so. No.
Okay, it was like a British indie band, but this girl Charlotte, that was her friend, wanted to go to South Bank, and she became the bassist or the second guitarist in that band. And then she went on to date, you know, Edgar Wright, who did Shaun of the Dead. Mm-hmm. She was like his squeeze for like a kind of like the longest time, and that's why she wanted to go down to South Bank, I guess, to kind of look at skateboards, and that's why Hattie ended up down there. But like,
okay, wow,
that's where we met. So like, yeah, the cat's out the bag now, but I might as well come clean with that one. But yeah, for that reason, Hattie's always been around. Like every video she's been around, right? So she's seen the actual like the complexities of skateboarders, and it's just like over it. You know what I mean? She's seen me lock someone in the bathroom because I need to make them take a shower. She's like had to deal with like Chewy's little phase of like not being able to go to restaurants or being scared of banana. You know what I mean? Like she's seen like all the me stressing about people and like what nightmares. She's seen the weed. She's seen everything.
Yeah.
So for that reason, she's just like over skaters. Well, not over, but she's just wary about what skaters. She's probably got a very 90s, mid 2000s view of skaters. Like I probably have to explain to her that like skating's changed a lot these days, but like she doesn't really have that much to do with skateboarding. Even though she made all the music with Mark Jackson for like first broadcasts. Like she's playing the Rattray song, piano, all that stuff like that. You know.
Oh, okay.
Like she does like the end song. She did like she's made all the songs that people are asking me about all the time. It's like she wrote the music and Mark Jackson produced it all. So it's, you know, it's kind of like in the family.
Okay.
But like the one time that I brought her out, I don't know why. I think I had to do something with her, and then I wanted to go and film this trick. But it's Vaughan did a front side nose slide down Moorgate is when she came out. So she was just like, she might even been waiting in the car or something. You know what I mean? Like, Vaughan did this. And he does it in the video, it's sketchy, but it's not even sketchy, it's just like a bit like loose, you know? Mm-hmm. But me being him, like, go again, another one, Vaughan, come on, let's go. And then he like destroyed his ankle on it. Destroyed his ankle completely. Yeah. It's like it's the one when I was like, not like career destroying, but like he put him out for a while, you know? Not like a Kel Nusky career destroying, make someone do it again. And then I went back and I'm like, Vaughan's fucked his ankle. We need to go. I knew by now because Sharratt fucked his ankle, and like if you don't go to the hospital then, it could just have ongoing effects. So I was like, let's just go to the hospital now, to drive to the hospital. Mm-hmm. So we're driving to the hospital. We've got a I said that Hattie had some good jams, with that picked. Got a mixtape on Hattie's mixed CD, whatever. And there's a Christian Hirsch song called William's Cut.
Okay.
And Vaughan's on the back with his ankle just like fucking bumming. And one of the lyrics, the lyric in the song is like, how many times in how many different ways can you get fucked? And that played, and Vaughan was like, can you turn this off, please?
Bumming me out.
Yeah, so whenever that song comes on, we always like laugh about that song, But I wouldn't, I guess it's just bad coincidence that like, that's one time she came out, you know what I mean? But it's cool. I like to keep things separate,
Sure.
Business up front.
I have a question from Conor Charleson. So he said, recently you've been filming with Lisa Chisholm, I think, and sending me evidence that you're as tough on her as you were with me, or so you claim. You have your methods and stick to them. Is there anyone in the past that you had a different approach with? Anyone you let slack off? Or maybe anyone you were scared of being tough with?
Well, I'm not really. It's a bit of a toss-up with Lisa. I am a bit tough on her in terms of I'll make her do stuff again until it looks right, but I won't be like, mentally bullying her to try and make her do a trick. You know what I mean? She does get a bit of a pass, if I'm honest.
Okay.
And then there's a couple of people. Who am I scared of? Like Charlie Monroe. Doesn't really need to be like. I mean, I didn't really know him that well, like when we first started filming, but now I just want to be like, do this, do that, because it's clear that the dude is he knows what he's going to do and he'll do it.
Yeah.
But I know if I pushed him too much, he could easily beat the shit out of me. So
Okay.
I would never push him too much.
Yeah.
Lintel probably wouldn't wind up too much because he feel like but he'd flip on me. Chewy could probably flip on me. But he did get stuff in terms of like he's not allowed to wear his sleeveless hoax t-shirt that's cut like Florida man's sleeveless t-shirt,
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. And then there's other people that I'm just like Colin. I just get a vibe. There's just a vibe of certain people where Colin, I just know they're like the best dude. I'm not going to give him that much shit.
Mm-hmm.
There's people like Conor. He does get shit, but he's like, I can honestly say he's like a really good friend. And we'll give him shit, but it's for his benefit. But I would never hurt him that much. You know what I mean? Like be insanely gnarly. I think he enjoys it, so I do. I just figure out if somebody likes it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I can just give him some shit. So yeah, it's just a bit of a push-pull dynamic in that respect.
Interesting.
Yeah, hopefully not going to get cancelled by anyone. Anyway, I'm past kind of my days of actually filming, and then obviously if I was filming like big, I'm not going to be that fucking cheeky with Shane O'Neill or something like that. If I went on tour with him, you know what I mean? Like I had to have a bit of I had to build up a rapport for the thing. I think that's the thing with filming this Lisa part. She'll probably get the treatment will get a bit harsher as we go on, but already I've made her do something 17 times and she's covered in bruises, so we'll see how we end up by the end of the end of the video part. Yeah.
When is that due? Do you have a deadline for that part?
No, because ever since cover version, I'm just filming people that I'm like, I'm friends with this person and I really like the skating.
Yep.
And if they want to do it, I'll do it. But I'm not going to work on something where someone doesn't want to do it. So someone like Conor is good because he loves skating and he really wants to film a part. And then when I say to Conor, Conor asked me, "Can you film a part for me?" Mm-hmm. So immediately I know that he takes it. I mean, it sounds like I'm kind of big up on myself, but if somebody kind of takes it as an honour that I film a part with them, then you got a degree of control and a degree of like I said in the past, if you're working for the video and you're on the same page, we can make something good.
Yeah.
So unless somebody pays me to film a skate video, I only want to work on stuff where people get it and we can make something together.
They're fully invested and motivated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're not stinking.
Yeah, I really enjoyed, of course, his part, Conor's part in cover version, but also this latest one you put out, Slight Inclination. Is that the name of the part?
Yeah.
That was beautiful. And his skating is just very unique. I thought it was very interesting watching like the Blueprint videos in the last few days and then watching this latest part. Like his skating is so different from anything out there, kind of.
I mean, I can't believe that he did it. I can't believe he got it done. And I mean, a couple of people like the twins and the other people that filmed them in America, like it helped out a lot, and it just worked. Again, it was me just making it feel cohesive in the end.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like, you know, what my role is in that. Yeah, I can't believe he did it. Because I remember Karan, because I was like, people asking me, "Are you filming part of Conor?" I was like, "Mate, just don't expect anything." And then Karan, he like messaged me, he's like, "Why were you like pretending that it was going to be shit?" I was like, because I thought it might be shit, because it's just, he's amazing. Conor can do stuff that no one else can do.
Yeah.
But you just have to go through the process of getting it, you know what I mean? Sometimes it works first time. And annoyingly, the times that I've been out with him since when we're not filming that, he's just got stuff straight away. But sometimes, you know, you have to go through a process to get it. But like you know, the stuff that we filmed with Kev, like a couple of his tricks, still like the slapping frontside nose grind pop out, and the thing at Scotland where he does like a frontside hurricane to fakie. That's not really doable. Those two tricks aren't really doable.
Okay.
But you had to go through a process of it, and it just might happen, and it happened. But like, you go to those spots, you're like, this isn't doable.
Yeah.
Still, you know what I mean? Like, there's another thing. I was at this Tottenham DIY park with Lisa 2 days ago, and there's like a barbecue they have with like, they built like a transition. I don't know why they built, because like no one can skate this transition around this barbecue, and he just like a little kind of like scrap, like a frontside grind, like at the top of it. You know, you might have to slow motion to see it properly, but I was looking at it and I took a photograph of Lisa in front of it. I was like, this isn't really possible. Like, how did he do it? And I had to message it to Conor afterwards and say, how did he do this? Like, even when I filmed it, it's like, you walk around, you say, oh, sick. But it's only when you look at stuff in hindsight, you're like, yeah, it's not really possible. It's just the magic in the moment, you know?
Yeah. That's what I like with this skating. It's just very impressive, and it seems like impossible, like you said. Like most of these tricks seem like they would never happen, but somehow they happen. Yeah. So yeah.
I mean, that's the kind of thing. So basically, the projects that I work on an unpaid basis right now are stuff like that. It's like, Conor has got something that not many. He's got something different from other people, and it's the same with Lisa as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, ever since I first saw footage of her, I was like, she's not really doing stuff like people say are like legit contemporary tricks, but it just looks fucking good when it's together, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm psyched on how it's going at the moment. It looks good.
Let's do this next one from Adam. So how do you say his name? Mondon? I'm not sure to say his last name.
No. But yeah, the thing is, I think he is French, so you're probably saying it right. So if I say it's Mondon, it's like Mondon. If you say it, how do you say it?
In French, I would say Mondon.
So that's the proper way of saying it. Yeah.
Okay.
Because it is French. Yeah, it's French. You can tell when you look at his face, you're like, it's got a bit of like Ipswich in there as well. So, but he's you can tell he's got a little bit of a French, you know, like the classic French nose. I think he's got a bit of that. Yeah. Okay, what's this question?
He said, I've been going through old footage recently, and Chris Massey came up in my thoughts about bringing hype to a session. I wondered if you could share a filming story that he was a part of.
Oh, trying to think of it. I mean, the thing is though, right? Me and Massey, he was such an integral part of that, because so Chris was like so me and Chris became friends like quite late in the teens. You know, he was like basically like very local to the area, but I'd see him around. You know, I don't know if you did this with skaters. You just see other skaters, and sometimes you just wouldn't say hello to them, or you'd be like nodding, but you wouldn't like have the two different crews. You wouldn't like, hey, let's go skating or whatever. But he like cold called me and said, I'm at school. I don't know how I got my phone number. He was at a school by a house, want to go skating, and then we went skating, and we were like best mates ever since. You know, that kind of vibe.
That's cool. Yeah.
But I'd probably seen him at St Albans skate park before, and just be like not spoken to him beforehand.
Okay.
So, but then since we became friends from that moment, he was more of the dude. Like I didn't really smoke weed. I don't really drink. I don't really party. I didn't really, you know. Massey did everything.
Okay.
He was the dude that people would be like, I want to go and film and stay with Magee, and we lived together eventually. But they would definitely only stay. It was more fun for them because Chris was there. Like, I'm going to go and chill with Hattie.
Okay.
You know what I mean? You're going to stay here with Massey and smoke him out, or he's going to smoke you out. You know what I mean? And then like he kind of started filming after me, And to be honest, like at the time, I was like, "Fuck, what's Massey trying to like get on my shit for?" You know what I mean? So I didn't really help him out, but I did help him out in a weird way. But like, I had to reinforce that like he was so, even though he wasn't like, he only filmed a few bits and bobs for like Wait for the World and Lost and Found first broadcast. He was more integral to the part where he was like the hype master, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He was like probably the Flavor Flav to my Chuck D, you know what I mean? And then stories. I mean, there's so many stories, man. I'm trying to think of filming one. I mean, there was a time we went filming and he left his camera bag at St. Paul's, but it had like a lot of weed in it.
Okay.
Like a lot of weed.
Yep.
And he's like, I've left my camera bag at fucking St. Paul's. At St. Paul's. And this is obviously, I think it might have been around the time of 9/11. If it was beforehand, it was still like kind of sketching the city because we had all the stuff with the troubles and stuff like the RA bombings and stuff like that like in the 90s. So, you know, what I mean, like I can remember there was one situation with Massey where we got moved on and this undercover copper who was like big time was like, don't leave those bags here, you know, like there's paddy about and stuff like that. It was like kind of quite crazy for like RA terrorism. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But anyway, he left his bag at St. Paul's and we're like, it's like, that's kind of in the square mile. You can't, you know, the financial bit where they blew it up. So it's kind of sketchy leaving the bag there. So we're like, that's going to be taken. Mm. So we had to go to the police station and we're like, fucking hell, Massey. Go to the police station now. Yeah, we got a bag. And we're like, okay, cool. And they're like, yeah. Is this the bag? The guy comes out of the bag, right? We know that there's like a fucking ounce of weed in there, or whatever, however much it was, right? Because he'd have like enough weed to smoke out the crew, you know, like skaters and stuff. Yeah. And it's like, is this the bag? The copper's like holding the bag up. Is this the bag? And Massey's like, yeah, that's the bag. He's like, cool. Right, everything in there, yeah? Is everything in there? Cool, yeah? Massey's like, yeah, everything's in there. But the weed's in there. Yeah. The weed's in the front pocket. And the copper's like, everything in there, yeah? And Massey's like, yeah, everything's in there. And then the copper gives him the bag, and he goes back with the camera, the bag, and the weed in there. But the copper's obviously like, I know your weed's in there. Is everything in there, mate? You know what I mean? Like, and Massey's not like, Massey could have been like, I don't know what you do in that situation, but like, the copper's like saying, is this your weed? And
basically.
And then somehow, in typical Massey thing, because Massey's either really unlucky or he's really jammy. It's one extreme. And I guess it was just like, he was just like really, really, really lucky on that day. You know?
Yeah, wow.
That's the only one that comes to mind. If I think of another Massey story at the time, I mean, he would always do stuff like, there's a time where like, skating St. Paul's, and he did this, he would have this habit, right? And he did this like 5 times, right? Where he'd shout something to someone. Like, say he did one when we were moving down the escalator, and they're like, could you walk any slower, please? Right? Because everyone's walking slow down the escalator in the tube, and then everyone turns around and is like touching at him, and there's a guy that like on crutches or whatever, like, you know, somebody that can't walk properly. So he just shouted at this dude, can you walk any slower? And the guy's like got a disability or something, you know what I mean? I don't know if you can even say that anymore. And there was another time where, he just did it so many times, where he just like touch at someone and they'd be like, I think he touched at someone on a bus, getting on a bus, and they'd turn around and they had Down syndrome or something.
Oh, wow.
But this one time, I know, it's like really lame, I feel really bad. But there's one time when somebody like Andreas or somebody was skating Westminster Road and the board shot out and the guy was like, "Wah!" like shaking his stick at the dude. Okay. Like going crazy at the skater, and a massive ran over with his board, like, what the fuck are you doing, mate? Like 90s style, like board, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And the guy, it was a white stick, and the guy was like partially blind, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like that's a typical Massey thing that it was like, it doesn't mean anything, but he would just end up in these funny situations. You know? That cracks me up.
I wasn't sure, when did he pass away? Was that, I think it was a few years back, right? It's been maybe 5 to 10 years.
When was the Brexit vote? 2016?
I think so, yes.
Okay, because I remember this. I was on a Nike trip, because I remember I was on a Nike job. Okay. And I got the call from a good friend, Dan Henshaw, who was like a good friend of ours. And it's like, you got to come back. He's like, it's Chris. I'm like, how is he? You know, I mean, I don't know. It's like, in hindsight, you know, I should be like, I'll be there. But you're on a trip, but it's like a shoot. And I think it was like with Bobby Warris and those dudes, you know, just like they did like little commercials. And I was doing them for a bit. Yeah. And it was like, you got to come back. I'm like, yeah, but it's not. And then Dan Henshaw was like, no, you got to come back. Mm-hmm. But fortunately, it was a Nike trip, and I told Pippa, who was running the brand at the time, what the deal was, and they were like, right, yep, 20 minutes. I was in the cab. I was literally, it seems like a dream. they paid for me just to get back from Barcelona, and it seems like I got back there in 45 minutes. I don't know how it happened, but I was like in the hospital to see him just finally. Wasn't there when he passed, but I was there with our other good friend, French, and his wife and stuff. And it just seemed like a whirlwind, like a movie.
Yeah.
Like, you know, just the way it happened, because it seemed like I was in Barcelona and then like I just appeared there over it.
Yeah.
And then it was obviously like fucking pretty gnarly, like really. And then I just went back to the job because it's just like you have to finish the job. So I just literally went there and went back. But I can remember being like getting back, and I was just like so emotionally drained.
Well, yeah,
when I saw
for sure.
all the skaters, I was so relieved just to be back and just be back, have my mind focused on something. That I like hugged Bobby Royce, but I don't really know him that well. And he was like, "Whoa, what the fuck's like? What's the fuck is happening?" But I don't think he knew that I'd just been through all that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's why it sticks out in my mind. It was then. But it was so quick. I'll just tell the story just because it maybe just like brings some awareness to the situation. Ollie Barton had come over like a few months previous, and we saw Massin. He was like, he had his stomach pains. He didn't go to the doctor, and he went to the doctor, and they said it was gallstones, something like gallstones.
Okay.
And then they came back. And I remember I was like, "Should I meet you later, Massey?" And he was like, to me and Ollie, like, "No, I've got to go and get the scan because my stomach's hurting me." And then he was like, I went to get the scan, and the dude was like, and he said to the guy, "Oh, yeah, the doctor said it's gallstones." And the technician was like, "No, I'm not seeing any gallstones. There's quite a lot of intestinal cancer, though." And Massey was like, "What?" You know what I mean? Like, out of the blue. But the dude was like, "Yeah, seen a high amount of intestinal cancer." Wow. So it's just like a typical Massey thing again, where the dude's like, "Yeah, you know what I mean?" And then literally, I think it was a month and a half, 2 months, the deterioration was insane. You know? So for anyone who has been through that, I mean, it's pretty heavy, you know what I mean? I can't even imagine living it. You know, like one of my best mates, Percy, Dean, takes photos. He's just been through it with his sister-in-law when he moved into the house with his wife to kind of help out. It's just like, it's just insane, the physical deterioration of something like that through chemotherapy, you know what I mean? It's just like nuts, you know. I don't know. Life happens, doesn't it? You know, but I feel like he's got legacy in skating, and it's kind of rad.
Sure, absolutely.
It's there. And when I got asked to do that design museum thing, they asked us some stuff, and I was like, "Yeah, it's fine, but like, this has to go alongside my stuff." And I got landscapes in there alongside my work, and his daughter and his parents and his wife went to see it. So even though it's kind of like you're just looking at it in the cabinet, it's just hopefully maybe his daughter will realise what it is one day, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
rest in peace.
Yeah, rest in peace for sure.
All right, let's see. I have this audio one.
Hello, mate. It's me, Dan. Bald guy from up north. So, what I'd like to ask is this. So, out of all the sponsored skaters or skaters of renown that you've ever come across, known, filmed, maybe helped to elevate, or even just liked, which one do you kind of regret the most that there wasn't more footage or more coverage of them, and why? You can pick more than one if you want. I'm sure you've got a few. It doesn't need to be a blueprint rider either, or anyone that you've been directly involved with. Kind of, I guess, UK based, but go for it. What have you got? Okay,
so the one that I like probably is, you know, Ben Job. Is not the Ben Job from 8th Street, but there's like a guy called, I think his real name is Andrew Mahakan or something like that. But he's a skater that used to skate South Bank, and he looked vaguely like Ben Job from the 8th Street video, so they even called him Ben Job, and still to this day he's still known as Ben. Do you know who I'm talking about? He's in First Broadcast, and he does like some wild shit, right?
Yep.
I'm just looking back I look back at the footage, and the footage is kind of untouchable, because I don't know how you feel about skating these days, but it's in British skateboarding. I'm like, I do like some stuff, but like, and again, not to blow my own trumpet, I look at stuff like Ben Jo's footage or Toby Shaw.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, dude, this shit is like, how old is that now? 25 years old or whatever?
Yeah.
You know, because we filmed it in 2000. But this is on some untouchable, unfadable shit. Not for my being there to film it, but their execution of the tricks is like unfadable. Like, if you said to me, like, "Oh, do you like this skater who's a modern day street skater?" There's only a couple that I'm like, yeah, they're good. But a lot of sponsored skaters, a lot of people that are taking boards now in the UK aren't like doing stuff like that. So I'm like, you know, I look back, I'm like, dude, I know I had blueprint stuff going on. Why did I just not make an effort to try and film this Ben Joe part? Like, you would never probably get a full part, but I think I could have got more than me and Mondon did. You know what I mean? I think we could have got a bunch of stuff, and Toby as well. Probably one I feel like in hindsight he should have ridden for Blueprint, and I don't know why this is, because a lot of it was like didn't want to tread on Foster's toes. What I know now is that those dudes were not ever gonna get or were getting anything from their board sponsors, so maybe I could have like helped them a little bit in their career, and by not treading on someone's toes and taking them, I kind of maybe stitched them up a little bit.
Okay.
You know what I mean? If I'd like been like, yeah, fuck Foz, you know what I mean? Like, it's not, I'm helping the competition. I'm helping someone who's making a Blueprint style company just for market share. You know what I mean? Like, it's like I don't make a heroin style company because it's not my vibe. Even though I loved heroin at that stage and in glass stage, I wouldn't make a company like that just to take market share, which I feel like Landscape was. But in a weird way, I also didn't want to fuck them up by just stealing riders. But
sure.
In hindsight, probably should have sorted Toddy and Toby out. Especially Toby, because kind of like that was the end of Toby's career. You know, even though knowing Toby Shaw, he wouldn't have wanted a career in skateboarding, but I think he just would have wanted to see himself represented in a, like I say, going back how he saw stuff. Like he would go to America, he wanted to be seen in the same light, get the same chances that Americans got filmed. His landscape part is amazing because of the work that Massey put into it, and I helped him out a little bit, but I feel like he still could have had like, you know, loads to give, you know. I think for me, Ben Job and Toby Shaw, like if you said now, if I could do a joint part of those two, you know, that would be like a dream wish list, joint part.
Yeah, for sure. I'd love to see that.
Yeah, Toby Shaw, Ben Job, and Kenny Reed combined part.
Oh, Kenny Reed? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, but those three together, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be like the dream one. And I just kind of kick myself that I'd not made more happen, you know?
Yeah.
Because the joke is, I probably could have made it happen at some stage. At one point in time, like I could have put those three together somehow, you know?
Yeah, Toby Shaw, he, I don't remember if it's in the landscape video, but he murdered like the Vicky benches, right? Like he had some amazing lines on that spot.
Yeah, early on, myself and the people I skate with and Toby and Massey, we put in a lot of time at that spot. You know what I mean? That's why that account that I got is called Meet at Benji's, because Benji's is like there's a convenience store all around London called Benji's, and they'd be at all the main stations, but they had a massive one at Victoria Benches, and we'd meet there.
Okay. I didn't realize it was... I read an interview yesterday where you mentioned the name Meet at Benji's, where it came from, but I didn't realize it was next to Victoria Benches, the Benji's.
Yeah, St James's Tube was the station right next to Benches, but there was a big Benji's as we walked out, and that's why it's Meet at Benches. Yeah.
All right, let's do this next one.
What's up, Magee? So, I know you've been working outside of skating for a while now, but are you still motivated to film skating these days after so many years? If so, what is it that gets you hyped to go out? It was refreshing to see some newer Dan Magee content in the last few years, for example, that Conor Charleson part, and of course, cover version. Anything new on the horizon that we can look forward to?
I reckon he got help putting that question together, because it sounds a bit elevated for Coakley. The way he worded it, I think the question is his, but I think he's got help.
A ghostwriter.
yeah, ghostwriter on that vibe. But that is my man right there.
His part in Make Friends, is it in Make Friends? Yeah, I think so. In Make Friends was so good. I really enjoyed, just as I told you earlier, like watching it. Like even Sylvain's part, I hadn't watched that in so long, and like Kevin and even Marty Murawski, which was, I guess, kind of an odd addition to Blueprint, even though he was obviously so talented.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kevin Coakley's part is really, really cool. I really enjoyed that one especially.
I mean, that's the thing. Kevin got on because his friend CN gave me sponsored me tape essentially, and then he won that 1 in a million slap thing. But I liked his skate.
Oh right, yeah.
But then once I met him, we just like bonded. So his part is just like based. So like I said, it was like Zana, CN, and Alex Pelletier filming him. But I just kind of like, when I couldn't get out there, I'd just be like, remember AIM Instant Messenger? I would just tell him stuff that we need to do or refilm or go and do, and that's how we do it. But then when I got out there, because I went out there when Blueprint didn't exist, it went down for a little bit before the Canadians bought it. I still tried to like film the video, and I just like embedded myself. And by embedded, I mean Kevin got an air mattress and I slept next to him on the floor for a month to film this part.
Damn.
So that's how it came about. And maybe that's why it feels, because that's one of the parts that I've made that I like most, I think. You know,
the Kevin Coakley one from Make Friends?
Yeah, even though it was like a kind of a time where it's like, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life, or will Blueprint come back? It was like literally like a time of kind of like freedom of like, let's just do this. I can remember like just being in Boston and just feeling like kind of free just to film and stuff like that, and just like with people I like, and that was it. So his question was basically like, what gets me motivated? And I mean, it's the same
what
thing.
gets you hyped to go out, and
I mean, in my old age, I'm kind of going back to what I talked about, like somebody that's like on board. Like he was a person that was on board. You know, we'd have a bit of a relationship going back and forth about how you want to make this part, like discussing like how you make it. And that's the same thing with him and his filmers and Conor and Lisa. It feels like you can, it's not like an effort. It's just like an organic collaboration. Yeah. And that's what it is. But also I'm filming more on just like analog stuff, like 16mm film, 8mm film, and high 8. Because now I feel like I want to kind of do these little rare bits. I mean, I'm not going to say the last thing I filmed, because God knows. I mean, I thought that was going to be ages ago. These personal projects with filming friends is how I started. We just had like a VHS-C camera and we'd pass it around and film how it was at the beginning. And then I started filming high 8 when I was like starting to film the early Panic and Blueprint videos. That's how I got into it, you know?
Yeah.
You know, even though He Who Shall Not Be Named did a lot of the first mixed media one, it was a film on there, but I also kind of cut my teeth on that video too, you know?
Okay, yeah.
But that's what's fun for me. It's just taking those, just finding those people you can collaborate with, and also using these older formats, but using them with all the knowledge that I've acquired over the years, using more technical stuff. Can I take this high 8 and make it look better than it used to look? Can I take this old lens and use it in a different way to how we used to? Because like I had this high 8 camera where I put like a depth lens on it, like the Century fisheye on it.
Yeah.
And I was like, cool, this is going to be sick. And then I used it a little bit, but then I realised like I'd much rather use the 40-pound fisheye that we all used to have as kids, where it was a bit like it was a shitty quality. It's just more fun, and you're not worried about it getting hit, and etc. etc. Like that's more fun to me, you know, like because everyone films the same these days. Like I know it's rad, and like, you know, Cherry did change the whole landscape of skateboard filming, but essentially now everyone is filming the same. And buying a crazy fisheye that's not even that good, you know, like for like ridiculous amounts of money, you know, like I've had that fisheye. It's not a good lens, you know, the HVX Extreme one. It's not a good lens, and it's just, I'd rather just have something that's affordable and just like people can find and source, or you can tinker with and like experiment with to make different things. So that's the kind of thing that I'm into at the moment, tinkering.
Okay. Yeah, experimental.
Yeah.
And he also asked, like, is there anything new on the horizon we can look forward to? Is there anything you can tell us about upcoming projects, maybe?
I mean, I just need to get the Lisa part, but I'm not going to rush it. It's going to be like because it's just from, you know, I said to Lisa, it's just for us to look at. You know, other people might be psyched on it, or my thing is like maybe like a girl that would be not that great, can't ollie, like struggling to ollie, or might be, you know, or gets intimidated going to the skate park. They can watch that and be like, oh, well, this girl came from Canada and she went to like a skate park like Stockwell and kind of got embedded in the scene because it looks intimidating, but you know, she just skated and like everyone accepted her at the skate park and being inspired by that. And I can't ollie, and I only have a skate park near me. What do I learn? You know, like, but this girl's like sliding around and doing all this weird stuff that she doesn't even know tricks to. You know, maybe I can do that. Like I go out with Lisa and she's doing this trick and she's like, maybe I can do this. I'm like, yeah, so 540. And she looks at me like, what is 540? I know it's an extra half a turn. I'm like, yeah, it's 540. So there's stuff like I have to explain, and that's kind of super refreshing. Yeah, you know. Yeah. So maybe it's like a new thing that I go into where it's like it's going to inspire someone, but maybe not the original audience that like.
Exactly.
Pandering to, or I'm trying to do something that's like a bit like what everyone else is trying to be like. It's just completely different. It's, you know, because I spoke to Lisa and she was like, oh, when I went to, so I've been trying to get her out the skate park. She skates this one skate park, Stockwell, which is sick. But I've been like, everything can't be in the skate park. We need to go to some older stuff, some 70 skate parks and some street spots. So the first day I took her to this like spot that I skate with Conor, but it's like outside of the law court, but I took on a day where like court is in session, and like it was so gnarly. She was like getting harassed by like weird drug dealers driving around because I was like hidden. So like people were like cool. They just see a girl and they like driving slowly and saying stuff to her out of the car and stuff.
Oh shit, yeah.
Like some guy was walking down the street covered in blood, and this guy had been hitting him. He was on the phone to police. Some guy like tried to knock the cat. Like all this stuff was happening, and it was like the wildest spot to take someone to on the first day of a safe space.
Yeah.
And then she said, like, I would never go to a girls' skate night now because, you know, I'm not saying I'm cool, but, like, you know, it's not my thing now. I like to skate at the skate park with the whole crew. But when I first started skating, I went to a girls' skate night to learn to drop in.
Yeah. Get
And
the basics and kind of,
and to me, that incident of skating at the skate spot and the stuff that she was saying, and just being with her when like people like weirdos would just be like stare at her, you know, like kind of like try to get eye cuts and stuff because she's like a young looking girl with a skateboard. It's weird. I just realised how hard it is for young girls and stuff to like go out and do what we did as males, you know, to skate, you know, a spot on your own, skate cut. You can't do that. You just can't. Maybe some people will, but like for vast majority of people that might feel intimidated to do that, it's just not. You need a safe space. Yeah. So it kind of made something click that like, people, maybe like certain audiences need those girl skate nights. They need to have video parts they can aspire to, that sort of thing. So maybe,
absolutely.
You know, in future I'd do something like different things. I don't know.
All right. I have a question from Al Hodgson. He said, what was your role on the Apple Turkey advert with Dougie George? How was it working on that? I was watching that yesterday too, and I'm not sure what was your participation in that whole project, because I don't think you directed the thing, right?
No, I didn't. I wouldn't claim to direct that because it's like, you know, somebody else did an amazing job, so I wouldn't claim to be the director. So I think it's been taken down off the main, because it was an Apple Turkey website. First of all. Okay. And it got like 66 million views like straight off the bat, which is quite gnarly. I don't think they expected. And if it was on the main Apple website, it would have gone sky high. But I feel like stuff gets shadow banned because like essentially it's like, you know, it's a Islamic country. So stuff gets like, no one kind of sees that in the Western skate audience. It's weird. It just shows you how fucked up it is. And I think like because it's for product, they take it down when the new iPhone's released. So is it still online?
Yeah, I watched it yesterday. It was I think on YouTube maybe. Yeah.
Okay, maybe someone else is up to it. So basically, Chris Massey, wife Lucy, is like a big producer.
Okay.
She used to work for Academy, which is Jonathan Glazer's company, and be a big producer there. That you know, Under the Skin, that film. You know that film? Under the Skin is with Scarlett Johansson.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, just Jonathan. So she used to work for his company. He was a big commercial director that directed some amazing films. He did the Sony, you know, the balls bouncing down the street. Mm-hmm. You remember that advert? It's like when
I think so.
Cut a ball. Yeah, it's like she was. I think she cut her teeth working on that as a production assistant. So she became a big producer in the industry, and along with a few other people like Stu Bentley and Jill Gate, they kind of hooked me up with jobs along the way and saved my bacon.
Okay.
You know, like, there's been a few people when I got out skating, Jill Gate, Lucy and Chris Massey, Stu Bentley, that like just got me in, allowed me to like learn stuff and make money straight away. So like big ups to them. Mm-hmm. But she came to me and was like, we've got this director directing this Apple advert and he's really good and he's really cool. This guy Sinan, who's like German, Turkish heritage, because they wanted like it all to be like Turkish set in Turkey. Yeah. And they wanted it to be like Turkish cast, Turkish director, which is kind of rad, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But he doesn't. He just knows like average person skateboard stuff, you know, like so. But I want someone that knows it inside out and kind of will make it legit, but still commercial. Yeah. She knows that's kind of where I sit. It's like I feel like that's maybe something that I'm good at. If you want to do skateboarding for commercial usage, where it's like someone that's used to dealing with clients a little bit and make something that's like still feels a little bit core skateboarding, but still sits within that commercial realm. I feel like that's what I'd love to do in future, but I don't know how often those opportunities come up. But she got me in as a skateboard coordinator. But that meant loads of different things. So I was across the whole thing. Well, I'd be with Sinan. He was the director, but I'd be like on the monitors with him. Like making sure stuff like choreography, wardrobe, set design, like ramp designs, casting, everything across the whole thing. Wow. Because originally they wanted Turkish skaters, like I guess it's still kind of growing. So it's, for those who don't know, if you've seen Skyfall, it's set in the Grand Bazaar.
Yeah.
The James Bond film, Skyfall.
Yeah.
And it's a skater skating through the Grand Bazaar, and it's weaving in amongst these crowds. And then they end up on a roof in Skyfall where James Bond rides a motorbike, essentially.
That's
it's
right,
essentially
yes.
that for most of it. But you have to shoot all that stuff between the hours of like 8 p.m. and 6 a.m. in the morning. So it's all night shoots, and it's like a weeknight shoot.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So originally, it's like it needs to be good. It needs to have skateboarding. It needs to have someone who can skate at that time of night, skate fast, because it's all in the Grand Bazaar. It's all downhill marble, all of it, and make stuff legit. But like, there's not that level of skating in Turkey just yet. There's only a few people. And the people that probably could maybe do it on the casting was doing military service. One guy I really want to use, Youssef, but he was like, oh, my ankle is hurt, but it'll be better by the shoot. But you just can't do that sort of stuff because of insurance purposes. Once someone says to you, I'm hurt, but I'll be good for the shoot, they've written themselves off because you can't risk something like that on a commercial shoot.
Yeah.
And then the girl skaters, there was literally one girl that could do it probably in the whole of Turkey.
Wow. Okay.
And we got her in the end. So in the end, we had to look further afield to cast the skater, and it kind of got into the realm of this guy looks like he might
be Turkish.
Yeah. But essentially, that's Dougie because he has a moustache.
Yeah.
He wears like a sweater vest, which could be kind of like old school Turkish, and he's like not that pasty. So somehow, luckily, we didn't get cancelled for Turk washing. You know what I mean? But yeah, it was such a good experience. It's basically like the apex of like me working in commercial world. I'd love to do more, but like that was such a good experience. It's dream come true job. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It must have been a lot of fun for sure. Yeah.
And Dougie just couldn't have been a better dude. He like skating at 6 a.m. trying to nail his trick. There was one thing, because originally, you know how commercial ads can turn out. Like originally they were like, oh, we want Tony Hawk cameo on it. It's like, that's not going to happen. But anyway, or like they wanted Richie Jackson to be in it or do the film, and I'm like, no.
Oh wow, okay.
No, that's not going to happen. You know what I mean? Or like there was a big kind of thing about the wardrobe, and it was like I had to put my foot down a bit on that thing. But there was one bit like where Smith grinds his thing, and that was like a ridiculous time in the morning. Like, by that time we're fucked, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And he did the first one on stuck, and you know that thing where you literally go head over heels and then slam, but you can take it to the shoulder and bounce back up, you know what I mean? And the skater can look at that and be like, ooh, that was a gnarly slam, but like I kind of know he's good. Mm-hmm. But to anyone else, like if you saw your parent or something like take a slam like that, you'd be like, oh my god, no, call the hospital right now.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, oh my god, it's over, the shoot's over.
Freaking out, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm in there, I'm like, on your feet. You got it? Yeah, let's go. And Dougie's obviously like, yeah, I've got it, let's go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But everyone, it would just scare the shit out of them. So there was that. And then there's this other sequence where like, it was like, once you go to overtime on a shoot, it just gets into ridiculous money because everyone's on time and a half. It was that thing, and you have the first AD like shouting at you that you need to get it in the next whatever. Mm-hmm. And Dougie did this thing where he just like did the trick, but it was so stinky and so sketchy. And the dude was like, that's it, we got it. And I had to be like, no, mate, that is not it. Yeah. And he's like, well, that's it. And the dude was like, just needed to cut. I'm like, no. I had to be like, no, that was not it. Go again. And then he didn't do it. And I was like, fuck, in front of everyone, in front of the client. I was like, oh, better chill.
Yeah.
you know. And then we got it in the end. But it was just like one of those things. It's like, you look like a bit of a dick because you're literally like costing them thousands by going over like 1 minute. But I know that if I let you cut now, you're going to use that in the edit.
Yeah.
So I had to be quite gnarly. I had to be like, put my foot down. And I feel like this is the one thing where I kind of like was maybe a bit like, oh, you kind of got to be careful with client. You can't be that lame. But like, there had to be some bits where they were probably like, what is he going on about? Like, there's one bit where he's like, we just flip the shot. I'm like, you cannot flip the shot. Like in the old skate movies where they flip a shot and the dude's skating regular and they flip it. I had to be like, you can't do that. Just tell me you're not going to do that once we get back. Because I just know that once it's in the edit room, it's not. So, yeah, maybe blowing my chances by being too gnarly, but like it's at least like I'm stoked on the end result,
Yeah, exactly. So cool. It came out great, so it was worth, for sure.
Yeah, the director was like really easy. He was really mellow about asking me stuff and like let me like guide the action on the skate side. So couldn't have asked for anything more, really. Yeah.
What year was that when that whole project happened?
It was last April, I think. Last
oh, it was okay. It was very recent. I thought it was maybe a couple or 3 years ago.
But then another fun comes out, so it's just gone into the ether. But I might have to see if I can just post one to my Instagram or something like that. You know what I mean? If you want to look for it, just Apple The Great Escape. But it might be somebody's re-uploaded it. Mm-hmm. Apple Turkey, The Great Escape, Istanbul. Yeah.
All right, let's see. I have a question from Paul Shier. He said, I would ask Dan to talk about our 10-year run of going to Mallorca on Blueprint filming trips. His best and worst memory.
I mean, best memories is every single time we went. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like every trip
you would go every year for 10 years?
Yeah, dude, Brits abroad.
Wow.
So we started that. I think it was like Shier had been, and Ollie was living in Barcelona, and they knew that it was good. But the first one, Ollie arranged it, and I've still got the tickets. But it was like before the days of the internet, where it's like a travel agency, and you book it. And we booked us into like off-season in January, old person's home, like old person's hotel with a buffet. But it was in like in the horrible British bit, you know, where all the Brits are. And we just kind of skated like spots that were a bit the square and all the local stuff. But Baines, Colin, and Joe Pressey kind of got into some trouble. I think they were a bit cheeky to some local British people that were there in the wintertime. But if you're like there in the wintertime and you're British in a horrible place like Magaluf, it's obvious that you're like some criminal just like running away or something like that. So they got beaten up because Baines was cheeky to someone.
Oh shit!
And
wow.
Infamously, it's one of Shires' multiple occasions where he's ran away from the action, giving him the nickname the Running Man. And the legend goes that he ran and his hat came off and it was like spinning in the air like a cartoon hat. You know, like when somebody runs and the cat's spinning. So they got black eyes, and there's a sidewalk issue with all of them, with everyone except for Shier. So it's got like portraits of them all with all black eyes, and then it's got Shier like fresh-faced, no black eye. So that's not like a bad memory, but it's a funny memory because it's the first time we went, and then we go every year, and every year was a good memory. But we went like, I think we went 25 people or 20 people deep or something at one stage.
Oh wow!
Like multiple cars. Ben Powell was there in the chairs. So many of us, and we had like this is back on the day when you're capturing DV. I take a little DV deck and capture it, and then there's no internet in those houses, and this is one of the best memories. There's no internet. People have only got like the weed they got that day from the square. There's no TV. There's nothing. Like Conor would bring like a DVD player with just blackadder DVDs, and that's the only entertainment you get. So I'd go and capture the footage on this DVD deck on a shit laptop, and then build a timeline, and then everyone. So you imagine 20 people in a room in a Morecambe Villa watching the timeline of the entire trip day by day. So it's again going back to that thing, and they're watching and like, oh, I want to go back to that. I want to go do that. Oh, I've got to get that back. You know what I mean? So it's like really hands-on video production in a really skate way, like a massive skate house. Like you could make a Big Brother show from those houses, and that's like a really, really good memory of just like that. And that particular trip, we had a 25 to 30-minute timeline.
Okay. Wow.
So like I said, the videos these days are like, just to me, feel like a timeline. That's what that was. Like we had a video now. I wish I had those timelines because we just put them out on the internet and they'd be like something like that. I don't know where it is. No, I don't know.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you had that footage, but you don't have it anymore.
I mean, I had the footage all split up. I mean, no, because one of my hard drives kind of crashed, so I don't have a lot of the extra stuff. But like, these timelines, this 30-minute one from Mallorca was like fucking epic at that time. You know what I mean? Like 30 minutes. And I feel like it's a 10 or 12 day trip, but it was like all usable stuff, like a whole video, but just of that trip. And that's like one of the best memories. And then recently I've been back with Baines because my thing now is I blag on these New Balance Europe trips. I say, can I come? I'll sleep on the couch or whatever. Mm-hmm. Baines hooks me up a little bit travel fare, and I'll go for like support or just some behind the scenes stuff, and let Josh Hallett, who's like a really good filmer, just do his thing. Yeah. And we went to Mallorca, and it was like old times, man. It was wicked.
Yeah, that's rad.
But awesome. Yeah, every one of those trips is golden. There's not. There's one time with Morph on my 30-something birthday. Mm-hmm. It was like we stayed in the same villa with Baines that this hill is at. It's like not even a gnarly hill. It's very steep for me, but it's quite one of the steepest hills that's near this villa. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I'm going to bomb this hill with Morph. And went out and bombed this hill, but I was on the filming board, which is like a tiny skinny board with like big wheels. And I didn't think you can't slide, and it's like loose trucks. And me and Morph, I got crazy, insane like speed wobbles. And me and Morph died so hard. I like tore my hands up. Oh, shit. And it was so painful. But that's also like a really good memory because me and Morph still talk about that to this day.
To this day, yeah.
Like, dude, we probably one of us could have been hospitalised by this slam. It was pretty gnarly.
Wow.
Jerome was like, it looked like CGI when the speed wobbles happened and I slammed. And I think the only reason I survived because I had this huff hoodie that was like really thick and it like acted like a motorcycle jacket.
Yeah, thank God you had that, yeah.
Yeah. So that's a good one, yeah.
Okay, I have this one from Danny Brady.
Oh, yeah.
He said, favorite guest at Cawdor. Am I pronouncing this right?
Cawdor, yeah.
Cawdor, yeah.
Yeah, Cawdor Crescent, yeah. Favourite guest? I mean, favourite guest is a cat, Ragga the cat, that like, I think he used to live in a house and like left his owners, like they moved miles away, like 2 miles away, and then walked back to this house. And this cat was such a cheeky cat, but he was like Massey. He was like Massey's soulmate in a cat. And like just kept coming in even though he wasn't allowed by the landlord, and just became Massey's cat. But he would like just sit in this weed smoking. He was like that horrible fucking skate cat that would just like sit in the weed smoke and eat kebab meat and stuff. That's the favourite guest. Aside from that, we've had. I mean, I've met so many friends. Like, you know what I mean. Like Percy, still one of my best mates to this day, was like an early guest at Cawdor. Like, I mean, everyone came through. Like, I feel like a lot of the people in London now, Snowy, Ollie Todd, Joe Pressett, they all just like lived at the house. I mean, it wasn't really me. It was Matthew Seneca's stay. And then like them living off me paying an electricity bill. You know what I mean? That's how they moved to London. But yeah, fun times, kind of mental, yeah.
I have another fun one from Ben Grove.
Yes, Magee. I hope you're well, mate. Here's a question. How long did it take you to find the cheese that also put underneath your insoles of your trainers after that Malaga trip?
It wasn't cheese, it was bacon.
Oh, it was bacon, okay.
I think it was bacon.
What's that story, yeah?
I think it was when I got back. But the backstory behind that is, okay, so like that Malaga trip is the only trip I've been on where it's rained for every day except like 2 days on the trip. Okay. It was literally... This is again in the days of no internet, no phones with like smartphones. So fucking boring, like so boring. The entertainment we had, I can remember this stands in mind. It just rained every day. It was cabin fever, and the highlights of that was just Horsley telling me about his LSD trips and me being like, because obviously I'd never done anything like that. I just wanted to hear like all the stories, and like he was just telling me a story about how this fucking duck that he saw in a park turned into a golf ball, and he tore up this photograph. Found a Polaroid photo on the floor, tore it up, walked around the park, saw a duck turn into a golf ball, came back to the entrance of the park, and then the Polaroid photograph was in one piece lying on the floor. And that was like the highlight, that was the entertainment for the trip. And then just because we were like stir crazy, bored, Horsey would always wear D3s and like shell seat trousers. And I remember I debagged him, which is like, you know, when you pull someone's trousers down without them. Oh, yeah. Like, in the UK, it's called debagging. Okay. I debagged him. And he got me back by throwing me in the swimming pool, and I feel like he's got a foot somewhere, and I just need him not to put that footage out anywhere because it will go viral. And then he also put like 2 strips of bacon underneath my insoles, but I think he cut them so like it was the exact length of the insole, so like literally like you would never know. It just sat. It was like I could have gone like weeks, but I think I got it when I got back. Yeah, but it was basically the same premise as like, you know, that urban legend of like someone who hate the landlord, so they put like a bag of prawns underneath the floorboards or put like prawns in the curtain pole. It was basically, he was trying to get me with that technique, but I think I caught on so too quickly. It was definitely after a flight that I found him. Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah, let's do this one.
Hey Quentin, this is Joel from the Skate Creative Podcast. My question for Dan Magee is, what is his favourite shot in a skate video? And what is his favourite trick? Like what shot does he like filmed, and what is a trick that he really likes? Alright, cheers.
Favourite shots? Annoyingly enough, right? 2 of the things that spring to mind are like not filmed in the UK. Okay. Which really fucking irks me. Both in Barcelona, which is just like so boring. But 2 of my favourite shots is Shier tray flipped fakie around the bench in Barcelona.
Oh yeah. With the bench. I see what you mean.
Metal bank with a bench. Yeah. That's like, you know, like a perfect something has come today. Me and Shier, he was fucking hungover. I'm staying at his house, and we just like had a bit of a late start, but we went to that spot, just me and him. And he did it like, within 10 goes, absolutely perfect. And I just filmed, when I filmed it, it's one of those French thread moving ones.
Oh, yeah.
When he did it, I was just like, I've got that. It's not that often that you're like, I've got that, you know what I mean? And that's perfect. Perfect trick, perfect thing. I just wish it was a different spot. And the other one is also Baines, again in Barcelona, where he does a nollie frontside hill, switch manual, round a curvy manual pad.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's in Barcelona? Okay.
Yeah, it's further out. Also Lost and Found.
Yeah,
but
I remember that clip. Yeah.
Again, French thread moving angle, but I can remember like it was like towards the end of the last bit of light, so it's like golden hour, sunset kind of vibe. And I remember I get it, I was like, I've got that. You know what I mean? I can remember it being amazing. I mean, there's loads of tricks. There's definitely stuff in it, definitely tricks. But again, Shier, I mean, maybe this will make up for putting him on blast about being the running man with a spinning hat. But again, Shier, one of the gnarliest, best tricks I've ever filmed is the crooked grind, like the nose grind, crooked grind transfer thing in Mallorca.
Oh, yeah. The really steep bank thing. Yeah.
Yeah, but when you go online, you see a Shier thread on Slap or whatever, back in the day, it'd be like, Paul Shier with his one burner tray flip kind of thing, you know what I mean? But like, to my mind, that trick that I filmed with Shier and the slam is so gnarly. I can't believe he did it. Because we went there for like 3 years in a row, 4 years in a row. Like, he went one trip for DVS, didn't get it. Then we went for 3 years and it's like, didn't get it. Wait till next January, go again. And I went back with Baines, look at the spot, and it's just like, how did that old fuck, how did he do it? Because also, like, he's not in his heyday of his, let's make friends with the colour blue. It's like such an insane spot. Like, yeah, so I feel like that's yeah.
Yeah, that's an epic one, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I have a pretty funny one from Ewan Bowman. So he said, who pissed out of the van window while speeding down the motorway on the way to the very first Panic/Blueprint demo and tour?
I think that was Mike DeHoos, which is random.
Okay.
So Mike DeHoos was one of the first. He was like on Underworld Element at the beginning.
Okay.
And then like he was kind of a distributor pick, but I was well into him, so he got on the team. And it wasn't Blueprint really wasn't fully formed, but he was like the first Euro riders.
Mm-hmm.
But he also, I think he ended up taking his own life at some stage, sadly.
Oh, wow.
But he was Peter Jansen, para. He was like his boy skating, but he was sick. He was like super sick. Like, as a person, I wish I had a full part. Not that I would have filmed it, because I don't think we were like, didn't have that rapport at the time. But like, he never really got a full part in his career. But you could just tell. With some people like Shipman, they've just got it. He was in that realm of Carl Shipman, where he's got the style and he's got the tricks. But it's just like, you just never see it put to tape,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And another quick one from Ewan is, it's about the police chase that we mentioned earlier. He said, what did Baines innocently say when he saw the police helicopter chasing us as we made our getaway from the hotel parking lot?
I think he says he's underage, because he's young as hell. Yeah, I think he says, I'm underage, my parents will be told.
Oh, yeah.
and then, within the next, 3 to 4 years, he's, staying at Warner Ave in the Piss Drunks crew. So,
oh, wow, yeah.
It's quite funny when you think about that.
All right, let's see. I have this one from Dave Mackey.
Oh, yeah?
He said, every video you worked on had a look and feel. They always seemed thought out from the name, graphics, titles, and music. Can you talk us through the process? It felt like you always thought of a video project as a complete package. Was there anyone you were looking at for inspiration? It felt like you were finding inspiration in other areas and not just in skateboarding.
Whew, that is a relief. I thought when you said Mackey's name, he was going to ask me about the frosted glass toilet in the hotel room that I shared with him in China.
That's for another time.
No, I don't know if that's for public consumption, that one. Okay, so Waiting for the World is actually from Colin Kennedy.
Mm-hmm.
And that spot, Westminster Road, the famous road gap in London. That's like a tourist hotspot. I think it's even worse now, but it used to be bad at the day, where you're just like waiting for just these crowds of tourists to come through or whatever. But because Big Ben is right there, it's just a nightmare, because you're waiting for somebody to take the trick and you're just looking at the time that's ticking down on this massive clock that's in front of you. And it just became like, we're just waiting for the world to go by. Just waiting for the world. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, wow, okay.
That's that one. First broadcast is just self-explanatory. It's just like, this is the first showcase of
UK.
UK skateboarding. That's not just
Right.
Blueprint. It's like it's our first broadcast. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Lost and Found is actually a gay bar that we used to go on some really fun trips to. You know, like you'd be on a trip and like, let's go to this bar because it's a sick bar. It doesn't really matter if it's a gay bar or whatever. It's just like an amazing bar.
Mm-hmm.
So we go to Helsinki and we go to this bar and it was Lost and Found. And I think that inspired it. But then there's like the on video Lost and Found, like something is changing in skateboarding where people are trying to do the most technical trick, but it's just really about pared down stylish stuff. And it's kind of like that world, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But also, when you buy the original Lost and Found, which still blows my fucking mind to this day, and I don't know how I had the time or patience or energy to do this, it's a 2-disc set, right? So one's lost, one's found, right? Mm-hmm. So I guess the found is... I can't remember if I actually did it like this on the disc, but one is the main disc. I guess that's on Lost, I guess. And then, even though it should be there around, all the extras are on the found disc. Mm-hmm. But those extras are like, again, they're like what people put out now for like edits.
Yeah.
So like all the stuff we had as extras is just like, you know, to me, sometimes I look at UK edits and I'm like, the Lost and Found disc is just this, you know, which blows my mind, you know what I mean? Because it's like, it must so much work. Just to author those discs, I remember took me a month to do. And I would never be able to do it now. I can't even remember how to author a DVD, but I remember like made animations and everything. It's just mad. Make Friends with the Colour Blue was basically because we were going to introduce like Americans and stuff.
Yeah.
Blueprint to the American market was originally, so it was like Make Friends with the Colour Blue. It was, well, Coakley originally. Marty's a bit of a weird pick. I mean, Marty's cool. I think it would have worked if he understood Blueprint properly, but I feel like he didn't really get it. Like he didn't really know what Blueprint was. It wasn't like he was always trying to get on Blueprint. People told him to write for Blueprint, and that's why I know it just never really works properly. Whereas Coakley knew what Blueprint was and he wanted to write for Blueprint. Basically, they wanted us another American on. Coakley wasn't good enough for the Canadians, and they were like, "You need to put an American on that people have heard of."
Okay.
I can remember this. This is what the dude told Shier: "If you don't put an American on, I can get Jordan Hoffart," and that's when I knew we were in shit because like
Jordan Hoff. Oh wow. Okay.
So the new owner of Blueprint said to Shier, "We need more Americans to sell to that market.
Yeah.
You need to put someone else on that's not Kevin Coakley because you know no one really knows who this dude is. If you don't put someone on, that's a name, I can get Jordan Hoffart." And we were like, we better get someone quick. We better get someone quickly.
Like, he's not gonna like that's not a good fit. Yeah.
No, I wanted Jack to back, but Jack was at that time.
Oh yeah, I heard about that. Yeah, that would have been sick. Yeah, that would have been awesome.
It would have been. I think he was over it by then, but also he got offered Element for like money, like loot. And he turned it down because he didn't want to ride for Element, and he went to ride for Stereo. And then he was like, "You know what? I'm fucking over this." You know what I mean?
Okay.
I also wanted, Yaje.
Yaje Popson skates for Alien, I think now.
Before he was like kind of dreadlock.
Chocolate Flow or something.
Yeah, when he was like Chocolate Flow, that was like I was like, oh yeah. Shier also had like the heads up on Sean Pablo for some weird reason.
Oh really? Wow.
But I didn't know. I was like, I don't know who that is.
That would be.
But we would never. At that time, we never whatever. And then like someone said Marty, and I was like, you know what? That's the best. That's kind of could work. You know what I mean? Because it's like he's going to be able to hurt. I liked his part in Filmbot. Mm-hmm. He wouldn't be like my first pick, but like he's cool.
Yeah.
But it's also why we like when the new owners bought, they're like, we want American Pro. You can only have like these people on, you know, like pros. You have to like introduce people slowly. At the time, Smithy, someone like Neil Smith, and at the time, Chewy, they're very British pros. Like Neil Smith is a pro for the UK market because he represents the average British kid that's skating the skateboard.
Yeah.
But he's kind of got something extra. But it doesn't translate to like the American market, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Neil Smith, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, even though he filmed like 2 really good parts, we just needed something else to kind of introduce him. And that's why he went back to Am, and it was like, okay, we'll try and get this done and reintroduce him. Mm-hmm. But then like at the same time that happened, remember they did that back to the Wallenberg thing?
Oh yeah.
Remember that Wallenberg?
Yeah.
Okay. So like he went out there early just to kind of like skate the steps because he's good at jumping down stuff. And the person he went out there with put the footage online of him like trying this nollie hill flip down Wallenberg where he's not really getting that close. Put it on YouTube, but it kind of went viral within the industry. So by the time he got out there, people like Phelps had watched it, and then when he was skating, they just thought he was like some random fucking like local hometown ripper from the UK, and Phelps was on the mic like, "Get the fuck out of here!" like kicking him up the arse as he took the, you know what I mean, like kind of singled him out because he had his mate had put him on YouTube. You know what I mean? So that kind of blew the whole marketing scheme out the water because already he was just known as a kid that Phelps gave some shit at hometown ripper that Phelps was making fun on the mic.
Yeah.
And then Chewy, like I always had like massive plans for Chewy. Like he was meant to have like the end part in Make Friends for the Colour Blue. That was always my plan.
Okay.
He just didn't come through with it. He just didn't. He was like moving to Barcelona. It was just always quite difficult to film. And then once he left Blueprint, he kind of changed his style up. Like he doesn't really do as technical stuff as he did in the Blueprint days, but he's kind of gone more into the skating fast, kind of like Wild Arms kind of style. Kind of changed his style a little bit, and he just fits well with under Lev. It just worked for him much better. You know what I mean? Like on the same kind of page. You know what I mean? Even though he was always down for Blueprint, he was like good. It was just quite difficult to film, but it was always my intention that he had that epic style Rattray part for the last part, but he just didn't come through with it. You know. That's what I really wanted. So in the end, I just kind of tried to do, when I knew we weren't going to have the young pro part, that was that epic, which was meant to be cheery. I just tried to flip the Tanaski formula of having like old people at the beginning and end, and then younger dudes in the middle.
Yeah.
But I think the video only works kind of like in hindsight. Like at the time, people are like, "What the fuck why is the old people at the start?" But like, it's more like like you said, you watched it all in one go. It's kind of designed to watch it like that. So I feel like it's like a Prince Paul. Do you know Prince Paul, who does produce like De La Soul albums?
Yeah.
He says his stuff's only appreciated 10 years after the fact. And I feel that video is like a Prince Paul thing where he's got this concept for Balloon Mind State or whatever, and it's like a commercial flop or whatever at the time, but 10 years later people are like,
they get it.
I get it now.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that's how I felt about that album, at the time, It's that kind of thing, yeah. But would have loved to have that Chewy part, man.
Yeah, that's too bad. Yeah, I mean, his parts were always really good, regardless. But yeah, I feel like maybe he didn't quite get to where you were hoping to get him.
He's a different kind of skater, and obviously how he's marketed now, or how he's naturally evolved. Obviously he's done well from it, so that's
sure.
Good.
All right, let's do this one from Leo Sharp. He said, "What's the most annoying thing about filming skateboarding alongside a photographer?"
Oh. Dude, it's funny that Leo has asked that question. Right? I love Leo, but he is. I think he might have chosen this because he knows and he's trying to put himself in the mix. He is the dude, and he still does it today, the most annoying photographer. Okay, let me try and phrase this right, because I love Leo. He's like a kid that I grew up with from when I was young, and he's an amazing photographer. Okay, there's two things about Leo Shop that I would definitely take him out on a mission to take photographs because he's a fun guy to be with, super positive, probably down for the crew when, shit kicks off, you know what I mean? Like, he's just an epic dude.
Mm-hmm.
But there's two things, okay? He cannot resist. Like, if somebody lands a trick, he's the dude that'll be like, whoa, in the lens.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Well, like, he'll, like, the amount of footage, other people's footage, that's not as gnarly as me. I'll be like, before he even starts shooting, I'm like, don't do that fucking shit where you like put your face in the lens, right? Just do not do it, right? Do not do it, Leo. And then I watch somebody else's, and he's doing it in everything. It's like so annoying. So there's that thing, which that's like me if I put my finger in front of the flash or in front of the lens when he was shooting photograph.
Yeah.
To me, that's the equivalent. It's like, dude, what the fuck? Just wait.
Yeah. You're ruining my. Yeah.
He would do it like in the early days. He would do it within like a hair of not being able to cut him out of it.
Oh, wow.
Okay? And the second thing is,
funny.
He's so big, right? He's so big, he's so blonde. He's always, if it's a hot day, he's always got his top off. And if he has not got his top off, he's always wearing the most ridiculous outfit. He's always going to have. So this is a typical Leo outfit, right? Probably, maybe he doesn't do this anymore, but he's always got maybe a pair of really bright red shorts on, high, above the knee. Okay? Yeah. He will be some really bright coloured Vans, the shittest ones, like, you know what I mean? Hey, Leo, like this one. Leo, do you want a package? Yeah, man. Okay, well, you can have anything from the Vans line. Yeah, just send me the shittest ones you got. They'll be the shoes that Leo has, right? So he's got the Vans on, the shorts on, bear in mind Vans shoes, then he'll have like a DC shirt with like DC huge in the shot. So even if he's in the shot, right, he's huge, he's wearing the shittest fit that you could possibly imagine. He stands out so much. But his other qualities, amazing photographer, amazing guy, you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. That's funny.
Makes up for all of that, but definitely Leo is one of the most annoying people in that respect. But aside from that, he's good. He's also good. He's also really professional and like if there's another photographer that's even in a sniff or getting a photograph, Leo and Ollie is like this too. They're both dudes that are like flashes are up. You know what I mean? Like Graham Tate is also like a really good friend.
From North, right? Yeah.
But compared to someone like Leo or Ollie, who's like, you turn around, like if you get a sniff of the person landing the trick, they're out there, they're on the ground before you're set. So it's quite gnarly. You know, for me, I learnt a lot from Ollie. I've got to be set because if the guy's ready to land a trick, you're going to be in the best place. I've got to be ready for it, you know? Graham's like fucking around with his flashes like there, but Mason will take sick photographs, but he's no Ollie Barton in terms of like getting his flashes ready, you know what I mean? So they're my photographer P's, but saying that, I love going on trips with those dudes, so yeah, they get a pass, you know?
Yeah.
And just before we wrap, I should mention, that video title thing, I better mention before Kev shadow bans me for another 2 years. The Name CV cover version.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, at the time, kind of felt that everything's been done in British skateboard videos, so what we're doing was just a fucking cover version of what's done before, but it also had like a 2-part play on words because at the time we weren't really working in skateboarding, so it was like a CV.
Oh, yeah.
Curriculum vitae for...
okay.
You know.
Okay, had that double meaning, kind of, okay. Thank you so much, Dan. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this, and congrats on everything you've been doing. It's incredible, and I look forward to your upcoming projects at Lisa Part and everything you'll put out in the future. Keep killing it.
Yeah, man. Thanks. It's been really fun. Hopefully it won't get cancelled.
I don't think so, no. No worries. That's it for my conversation with Dan. Follow him on Instagram at ChopChopMate and at Meet@Benji's to keep an eye on his upcoming projects. Treat yourself to all of his amazing skate films that we talked about. I'll put some links up on my Linktree page. Thank you for tuning in. See you soon for a new episode of Beyond Boards.